cabbage. Wake up, smelly raw sewage. Junk stomach to digest all the carnage. Poor people not forgetting no left thing, so them left with the whole is thinking luggage. And whatever did get the message. Read the Bible but miss certain passages. Collins, pop two Cockneys. Once again, Collins. Right now, use them to kill one another. Right now is the time to really pray to the Father. Right now, Billy's under fire. Right now, right now, right now, right now. We use them to kill one another. Right now is the time to really pray to the Father. Right now, spread the news to your brother. Right now, right now, right now, right now. Blind lead the blind. Prophecies fulfilled. Signs of the time when Satan billions and call it white collar crime. Granny scrape the pennies, but she cannot find a dime in comfy. One more wrong and that them coke and wine. This one is the in the Chinese time mankind. Choke them like it's not up from behind and bleed to the eye when just bind the twine. Cause of them the economy on decline. Moral fabric of society on decline. Ecosystem on decline. Them could have started all day one thing they can't find. And that's a peace of mind. Sing right now is the time for the pray to the Father. Right now, Billy's under fire. Right now, right now, right now, right now. The youth and they kill one another. Right now is the time for the pray to the Father. Right now, spread the news to your brother. Right now, right now.
Yeah. Ezekiel call them dry bones. One must know, men have lost their course on a towboat, drift from shore without anchor and rope, unsecure. Amazing the battering wind and the trade waters. Golgotha's Titanic, egotistic, big ship got rapture. Self-destruct disaster out there on the ocean floor. We can run, hide and peek. Conscience will surely find it. Skip, jump and leap. A clean heart certainly give it. Run, hide and peek. Conscience surely find it. Kneel. Well, blameless and upright Job was allotted his own sector. 7 sons, 3 daughters, he was anointed by the Holy Father. Haile Selassie Kadama will give it to those who honor and respect his word, keep his word, fear in him heart and love for the Almighty God, adoration for the King of Kings and all the blessings therein, and also his kin in the land of Oz. He was the Wizard of Oz. Early morning, wake up and toiling, nothing funny for money. Holy Haile Selassie Kadama will see this worthy unto him. No hide and peeping. We can run, hide and peep. Conscience will surely find it. Skip, jump and leap. A clean heart certainly give it. Run, hide and peep. Conscience surely find it. Kneel. Yeah. Bow down your soul and your heart, render not your garments, but accept the Almighty tenements. Holy Haile Selassie, I set the commandments. Pay keen attention and adore him. Ignore him and it's deep sea failure.
Christopher.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We're
Live,
ready.
you're live, young man.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. Greetings, viewers. Once again, welcome to another edition of Sea Smoke Setting the Pace podcast with your host, Mr. Christopher Broster. And so today is basically a nice Wednesday with the weather's been going out. So hope everyone is home, you know, especially those with the rain right now, especially areas that flooded, you know, sending prayers for the victims of flooding at the moment. So today, our special guest for our show today, we have Mr. Giovanni Alamea, who will be talking to us. So thanks for joining us this evening, Mr. Giovanni. So it's great to have you. So he's the
Yes,
vice president of the Belize Commonwealth Olympics Associations. So, Mr. Giovanni, we have found out that this weekend is the Olympics Day 2024, which is celebrated worldwide. And so in Belize, we also celebrate Olympics Day. So can you introduce us to this event that is taking place this Sunday?
uh, good evening. Thanks for having me. Again, Giovanni Alamia, the Vice President of the Belize Olympic and Commonwealth Games Association.
Yes.
Right? So, like you mentioned, we have the Olympic Day event coming up this Sunday, the 23rd. Registration starts at 8 o'clock for the run. The run starts at 9. We have 4 different categories. U10, U14, U21, Masters. Each of them would do different distances right along Princess Margaret Drive between St. Thomas Roundabout and Coney Drive Roundabout. Right. So worldwide, countries that are recognized by the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, they celebrate Olympic Day. Right. In previous years, what we have done locally is we would just have a run on Albert Street and Regent Street.
Okay.
But we did that for probably 15 years or more.
Wow.
So three years ago, we decided to expand on that, and we had a little expo. So what we did was we had a little expo at Civic Center, right in the parking lot, where we invited all the national federations. We set up tents, little booths, basically, for them to showcase their federation and for them to showcase their athletes. Right. So first time was Civic, then we moved it to Marion Jones last year, and then again this year we're having it at Marion Jones. Same principle, inviting the 19 national federations, set up a tent. We're gonna have to give them a tent, tables, chairs, for them to bring out their equipment, bring out whatever they think would interest people, to be able to participate, to be able to feel a sword from it, from a saber from fencing, to put on boxing gloves, to try a paddle in table tennis, to throw a javelin or a shot put in track and field, to try a toss in judo or taekwondo or karate. So it's just an opportunity for national federations to showcase what they do. And then this also gives people from the general public an opportunity to try these things, to meet people that they hear about, athletes that they hear about on TV and the news all the time. Oh, Kaya Katus and Oscar Quiros, and with cycling being one of the larger federations that everyone hears about, or the canoeing from the guys on La Luta Maya. So again, it's just opportunities. And, there's sometimes that people don't even know that these national federations are available or functioning in Belize. They
Yeah,
might
that
say,
is very true.
so they might say, well, you know what? Let me go try fencing. Let me go see what that's about. Right? Fencing, like for instance, fencing's been around about 8 years now. So about 9 years ago, 8.5, 9 years ago, I assisted in bringing in the equipment. So at customs,
Okay.
I told the guys at customs, oh, we're bringing in some fencing equipment. I'm assisting them with clearing it and what's not. And they're like, but what you know about Bill Fence, right? I tell them, no,
Yeah.
not that kind of fencing, sword fighting, right?
Yeah.
So they open up one of the boxes and they pull out two of the sabers, and they're playing around with it because again it's something new, right?
Yeah.
So So they knew exactly what I was talking about, but they're just playing around and they want to see what it is. The same thing with athletics. We brought in some javelins and different things years ago, and customs officers pulled it out. They want to see it. They want to hold it. Like, oh, I could throw this, 100 yards. I could do this. I could do that. Then, so they want to set up a little competition within themselves. So again, it shows you that when people are exposed to these things, they get excited. And it's just for us to grow from there.
Yes. Yeah, it's very interesting to know that, it's something that has been doing a lot, and it's very great that, it's an initiative from the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games associations to be able to promote this initiative to the not only to the general public but also to the youths to be more involved in sports. I don't know if you can share a lot in your role as the vice president of the Olympics and Commonwealth Games Association. Like, how's it been going now as being the VP in that association?
Well, this is now my third term. So my first term, I was treasurer, right?
Okay.
So then I did 4 years as treasurer. Then I did 4 years as assistant secretary general, and now I have about a little bit over a year left as vice president until we have our next elections. So it's been some growing pains because things weren't structured properly when we first came in. A lot of decisions were made unilaterally. It wasn't something that was made. The group, the board wasn't very functional, very they were quiet. They were seeing things are done. I mean, and don't get me wrong, things were getting done, but things were only getting done to certain federations,
All
right?
certain federations.
So the bigger ones, right? The bigger ones that everyone hears about, right? So we opened it up more. We started having courses for the national federation executives to come on board and learn the various opportunities that are there for them. So either applying for individual grants or team grants, Olympic solidarity scholarships for athletes. So there's so many different things that are available that we don't utilize as a country, and it's getting that information out to them so then they can start growing, right? So and that's what it is for us. It's just a matter of getting this information out there for people to be able to for their association to grow so they can help people, and then it's a revolving door. It just keeps growing and growing, or like a snowball effect, I should say.
Yeah.
Right? But the main thing is getting that structure in place for the national federations to be able to utilize what's available, right? Besides the International Olympic Committee, we are part of Pan American Sporting Organization, Pan Am, and so there's funding available there as well. Like for instance, we have some national federations that we recognize. They are not part of International Olympic Committee. They're only recognized by Pan Am. So like for instance, karate, softball is in between. So softball, 1 year they will be one quadrennial they might be recognized by Olympics. The other quadrennial they're not. So it all depends on where the Olympics will be the following quadrennial, the next 4 years. So right. So if let's say for instance, like right now, boxing won't be in Paris, right? But in 2028, boxing will be in LA, right? Or at least that's what they're trying to do, trying to get boxing into LA 2028, right? So, I mean, we're in 2024, and they're already planning what's happening in 2028, and they're already going to start bidding at this Olympics in Paris in July of this year. They will bid for the next country, right? So they're 8 years, 12 years ahead because of all the infrastructure that needs to go in place. So it's a lot of little things that need to fall in place. And again, so when you have those national sorry, organizing committees for the games. They would decide which sport they would have. So then they start releasing funds for those international federations and national federations. So again, it's something that's always shifting, and us at the Olympic Committee, our job is to make sure that the national federations are fully aware of what's there, and are able to utilize everything and take a full advantage of it.
Yeah, it's very great to see that that the organization is finally moving some places from where it was before. But as this, because as this big association, one of the biggest concerns that maybe even the public might know is how you guys go about in terms of funding. Like, do you guys get funding from those foreigners, from the Olympics as well, from the foreigners? and and also, does government even assist with this association to promote more of this initiative in Belize? Like, what's your intake on those?
All right. So, funding wise, internationally, we get a set amount of money every year, and that's basically for administrative, to cover administrative costs.
Okay.
What the national federations, what they would do is they would apply to us, to Belize Olympic Committee, and then we would send that application to the IOC or PANAM for them to approve any projects that they might want to do. When we get approval for those projects, then we would tell the national federation, okay, yes, you can do this technical course, or you could do this officiating course, or this training course. And of course, they had submitted their budget already. And the way they're doing it now is that we get the approval, but the national federation has to cover that cost. So when they cover that cost, then we submit all the receipts, all the invoices. We then send that to IOC or PANAM. Then PANAM reviews everything, all the invoices, all the receipts. Then they would send us the money, right?
Okay.
So it's not like, oh, I want to do a project, it costs 10,000 US, give me the money,
Yeah.
right? So it's not that at all. It's okay, present your project, put your budget together, we'll submit it, we get approval, you you do the project, submit everything again, all your receipts now that everything's been paid, and then we send that in, then we get the money back to reimburse you, right?
Okay.
So then now when it comes on the government side, we get zero funding from government, right? The only thing that we share with government is NADO, the National Anti-Doping Organization, which falls under WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association. And when I say share, is because worldwide it has to be a joint thing between Olympic committees and government, because there needs to be testing in place. We need to do certain things in place, and we have Mr. Gary Ayuso, that's the NADA director right now. So for him to be appointed as the director, the Olympic Committee and government had to agree on having him hold that post. So when he's given that post, then he needs to do training. He needs to send us reports, send government reports, which he falls under National Sports Council. He has an office there at Marion Jones. So that's the only partnership we have with government. Government pays his salary, right?
Okay.
They give him an office space at Marion Jones. Any kind of testing that needs to be done, he would report it to us. We send it out. So again, this is showing everyone that everything is done above board, because the government is involved with everything that we're doing. Previously, I don't know if you heard maybe 8-9 years ago about a director that we had at NADO. He didn't handle the samples properly, and they weren't able to basically convict the person, the athlete, of doping because the samples weren't handled properly, right? Um, so it's a lot of little things, but like I said, financially, government doesn't give Olympic Committee anything. Um, we have a building, we have a 99-year lease with government. We pay rental, of the grounds. We build, Olympic Committee built, finance that building, right? There's no financial assistance directly from government.
Hmm. Very interesting. And then with the upcoming Olympics day, so like who is helping with the sponsoring to ensure that the Olympics day continues as a yearly event? Like how do you guys,
So
because it's
yeah, it
yeah.
falls under the same thing. We submit a budget. We sit down. The board sits down. We go through our plan for the Olympic Day. We put a budget together. We submit that to IOC.
See.
Then IOC will tell us, okay, um, your budget is 5,000 US, right? And that's what we have to stay between, right? Or you may want to go a little higher, then we might be able to get some funding from Pan Am for it. But again, we put the budget together. This is a project. We submit that. They approve it. We spend the money. They reimburse us, right? So it's not like they're sending you money and then, oh, okay, don't worry about it. It's yours. Do whatever you want. We have to be accountable for every penny that we spend. We have to have audited reports, and IOC and Pan Am tells us which auditing company it believes to use. So it's not like we're gonna say, well, okay, my brother or my uncle or accountant, I want it done by them. They will tell us exactly which accounting firm to use that's licensed, and
Okay.
and they do the audit.
Hmm. Man. Yeah, it's very interesting because at the end of the day, because sports players are real key in Belize, and especially to help bring out the talents in Belize. And it's very surprising that the government's not really much assisting in the federation or even other committees or other organizations that deals with the variety of sports in Belize. So they, help bring athletes. Um, and then, being that and being the VP where you are now, maybe I'm not sure if you're going to run for president after that 4 years or you're going to hang up the boots. But like, what are some of the steps now as this big federation? Because if I may assume that this Olympics and Commonwealth Games Association links with every federations of the variety of sports in Belize to collaborate in terms of events. So what are some of the steps that you guys are taking in place to help continue to build up, to continue to promote more of the sports and to help move forward in, sports of all in Belize?
Yeah. So one of the things um, that a lot of people don't understand is like if you were to look at the list from Sports Council of how many sporting organizations they recognize, it might be 50 or 60. But they'll have darts, they'll have billiards, they'll have dominoes. They might have four different boxing and three different cycling or whatever it is, right? The Olympic Committee can only recognize one national federation for a sport, right? And that national federation needs to be recognized by the International Federation, which the International Federation then needs to be recognized by the International Olympic Committee, right? So those are Olympic recognized sports. Then you have Pan Am, right? Pan American sporting organization. So they have their list, same thing, like bodybuilding, for instance, right? Bodybuilding has won with Mr. Greenwich a number of medals in Central America, but bodybuilding is not an Olympic sport. They are recognized by Pan Am, so they go to Central American Games. Then we can get funding for them from Pan Am, right? So it's a lot of little things that people um, needs to kind of understand, and a lot of it falls on us um, getting that information out, because there are some national federations that they don't even know, right? They don't know what the rules are. um, so it's a matter of explaining to them, because you might have somebody, let's say in karate, right?
Yeah.
An athlete that's been doing karate for 15 years, all of a sudden he gets an argument with the executive or gets an argument with the president, and he says, well, you know what, I'm going to start my own federation. I'm not going to worry about this federation anymore. I'm going to start my own federation. He can start it, but he can never be recognized by Olympic Committee or Pan Am unless the other federation is expelled for some reason. Right?
Oh. Hmm.
So, like boxing, for instance, right? Boxing is a prime example of, now this is the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, has now sanctioned IBA, which is the international body for boxing, and
Okay.
right, so they can participate in any major games as supporting a boxing federation, a bit like the Belize Boxing Federation. So what IOC said was, because now we are sanctioning IBA, which is the International Federation, we can't give any money to Belize Boxing Federation, but
Hmm.
we can give money to the athlete itself, directly to the athlete,
Oh, athlete. Okay.
right? Because they don't agree with what's going on with the financial aspect of how IBA is running their federation. They're not
Okay.
submitting audited reports. They're not doing different things. So now IBA has been suspended. Now you have a
Okay.
group of very large countries that are heavy boxing supporters. Now they are starting their own national federation, international federation. You know, so by IOC law, they can't recognize two international federations. But
Chance.
because IBA has been suspended and they've been warned and told what they need to fix, and they decided they don't care, they're not going to do it. Now IOC has now submitted, sanctioned them, opening the door for another international federation to open up, right? And again, these are probably 10 of the largest countries in the world that do boxing.
Yeah.
So when they get that started, when they get that going, then most likely IOC will recognize them, and all national federations around the world will need to be recognized by them, right? So again, it's a lot of little things that need to go in place for a national federation to be recognized by, for in our instance, Belize Olympic Committee. You know, and there's steps that each federation needs to do, and you can't rightfully recognize 4 or 5 national federations, right? Um, so it's again a lot of little things that makes a difference in how things are run.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you see, not all sports recognized by IOC, but others can be recognized by Pan Am, which is, like the secondary alternative towards the IOC that recognize specific sports in this. Because in
Well,
Belize, we have a vast majority of sports, and then the thing is that not all sports have been heavily, play a lot. Like maybe, for examples, like maybe like the actual tennis, maybe rugby, maybe
cricket,
cricket.
cricket,
Yeah,
yeah,
those
right?
sports, it's like yes, it's do play, but it's something that
Yeah, and I wouldn't classify Pan Am as a little, a little
mhm.
confederation, right? Because you're
Yeah.
talking about from Canada down
Okay,
to Argentina, Chile,
Tina.
all of South
Okay,
America, and
Panam.
all
Okay,
and all of the Caribbean,
Yeah. So
So
there'll
they,
be
it holds a lot of power. It holds a lot of votes in the IOC. Where,
COK.
so you have this Panam is for our area. Then you have for the African countries. Then you have for the Asian countries.
Asians. Okay.
So you have different things where it's ANOC, which is the Association of National Olympic Committees. So it's there's so many things that makes everything go right. Um, so that there's like no way we can expect or anyone should expect that Belize Olympic Committee can find funding for 60 federations. You know, um, of course, if they are functional and they're doing things a proper way, if they are accounting for whatever expenses, then there are ways around it. But then you're not gonna recognize five boxing or six basketball or anything like that. There can only be
Yeah.
one national federation.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. Well, very well said there. So I don't know if you have any more thing you want to mention, like probably like how, like probably like for instance, that because we like me and you we were at the meet at the workshop that took place this Saturday, and
Right.
unfortunately, too bad we didn't have Mr. Myers with us this evening to have share a lot that we have touched base regarding the workshop that we had to help move athletics forward, but not only in track and field aspect, but also in every single federation of sports across, to move
Right.
forward
Yeah.
because you see that everyone has been doing things positive for the sports. But unfortunately, there is not much of this collaboration. And one of the key takeaways from the workshop was to be able to reach out to each of the 19 that you mentioned. There are 19 federations of all sports across to decide that instead of trying to doing things by their own, like why not come together as one and say, you know what, if we want to do something that is beneficial for the youths, we all can come together because we all want that all of our youths, especially in all sports, move forward. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to touch a lot from.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that it's I'm trying to be politically correct in my statements, right? So
Yeah.
so like if you look at National Sports Council, right?
Yeah.
The Sports Act, according to the Sports Act, which they should follow, Sports Council is only responsible for six things: the primary school basketball, football, track and field, softball, volleyball, and facilities.
Facilities. Yeah.
That's it, right? So these sports are played throughout the school year for primary school, and all facilities around maintenance of all facilities around the country. Their budget for the year is 1.5 million, I believe, and 90% of that goes into salaries.
Wow.
Right? So now, what kind of maintenance can you do on these facilities? Right? How much development can you do in primary school for these five sports if you don't have money? Right? When you having um, volleyball tournament in primary schools that only last 1 month, right? They only last 1 month. They're playing one game a week. So you're only playing for maybe five games. How depending on how good they are, they might go to the district championship and then the national championship. So then you're looking at maybe 6 games. How are you
Yeah.
going to develop? How are you going to develop a sport? How are you going to develop an athlete in doing only that? Right. Same thing with basketball. Same thing with the other sports that they're in charge of.
Yep.
Which And I think we touched on that at the workshop with athletics, where it needs to be mandatory in primary school, in high school. Physical education needs to be mandatory, right?
Yeah.
Where you have Belizeans that have been trained, educated in Cuba, for instance, they come back here and they don't have a job. They can't get a
Very
job
true.
to do what they went to school
Wanted
for,
to do. Mhm.
right? Um, because again, it's not a priority for the teachers, the schools, the principals, everyone from Ministry of Education down. It's not a priority for physical education, where okay, yes, let's have PE class in a school, and let's have the student do it once a week.
Yeah.
What kind of development is that? Especially when you're looking at smaller kids, primary school, up to standard 3, standard 4, when they're learning all of their mechanical, they're getting learning their balance, they're learning the body's growing. So, you need to be able to adjust, right? Um,
Yep.
you look at kids and you see them run, it's like they don't even know how to run straight, right? They don't know which foot to jump off of. When they want to jump up to do a layup or something, they can't jump rope. You know, um, they don't have the coordination to use a hula hoop, right? And all of that needs to be developed from very young. You can't do
Yeah.
something that at 16, 17 years old you're learning all of those things, right? Your
Yeah,
bio,
it's very true because because the whopping is that one of the biggest downfalls that we're seeing in most of athletes, even myself sometimes, that because PE, like you mentioned, is not much mandatory in Belize. And that's at the workshop they were saying whether if physical education was a right or a privilege. And many of us say that it is a right, yes, but however, it become a privilege because again, we don't have much trained teachers at the same time, someone that is, that can help educate the younger ones to be able to let them understand the concept of the sports entirely and also their bodies so that when they as they progress in it that they will be able to grasp and to be able to perform well. And we see a lot of the downfalls there, but one of the suggestions is that we're trying to see how we can help get teachers licensed, those to be able to get trained to help assist with the primary school so that we can help better them and get them fully prepared for them in whatever sports they decide to choose when they continue forward. So
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, at a very young age, you need to get that. You need to develop hand-eye coordination, right? As a 16, 17-year old, for you to learn that, it's very hard because you pick up bad habits, basically, right?
very true.
You know, I mean, simple things, and what we might consider simple is you have steps in how you develop these body control, the everything as a child is growing up. I remember you know very young, they didn't give us a bat to play baseball or softball. They use us one football on the pitcher's mound. They roll it and you kick it, right?
Yeah.
So right away you are starting to develop your hand foot coordination, your eye foot coordination, sorry, right? Because then now you're able you're starting to learn and judge speed of when the ball is coming to you, when you need to kick, how you're going to kick it, what part of your foot you're going to kick it, then you need to run to your bases, right? And
Yeah.
then the people out on the field, they're learning to catch and eye coordination again, but with something bigger, right? Then you went from there to a bat, but with the big softball, right? Very big, soft. You can't go far, but again, you don't need a glove for that. You catch that with two hands, you know.
Mhm.
So it's gradually building up. Like for soccer, you're not gonna give a 5-year-old a full size football,
Yeah.
right? They have smaller sizes for basketball, same thing, right? You have smaller size balls for volleyball. You have softer balls, so it's all um, it's scientifically based, right? All scientifically based, and it's for us to put the proper people in place that understand all of that, so that we have proper development, right? You're not gonna have a 5-year-old go out there and run 5 miles a day, right? By the time they reach 7 years old, they're gonna be chronic um, injuries. They're gonna probably hate running, right?
True.
Because of doing that all the time. Because I mean, running 5 hours, 5 miles a day, and then you have to go home, go study, go do this, go do that. You don't have a life, you know.
Yeah, very
So
true.
they gradually build them up. There are safeguards in place where um, an athlete of a certain age shouldn't be doing no more than this distance running or this distance riding or using this type of gear for that age group for cycling, right? For triathlon is the same thing. A swimmer, you can't have them swimming more than this distance. You can't have them ride more than this distance. You can't have them run more than this distance. And as they get older, different age bracket, then that gradually increases. So again, it's about safeguarding the athletes. And when you use that safeguarding word, it's not only safeguarding them against predators, right?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, that's a reality. It's safeguarding them against getting injured. You know, making sure that their well-being is taken care of as well, mentally, physically as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. It's about safeguarding those injuries because we want that as they grow older, they'll be able to adapt and be able to get used to whatever criteria is set before them, so that as they prepare to take on what will be like for me now as the older age, they will be able to handle what is come, because again you said there's a lot of stages, and I think that's the whole point, is that they need to understand that there are certain things for certain criteria, especially for women in sports. So women, because especially in our patriotic norm, we see that yes, when it comes to certain events, there has to be like a quote unquote step safeguard for for each genders, to ensure that they be able to enjoy the sport as well, but at the same time safeguarding their well-being, because that's one of the key things always in sports. It's always this of the it's always
Yeah,
well-being, to safeguard their well-being.
yeah. I mean, like for instance, one of the things that as a safeguarding thing, one of the things that they tell you now is they call it the open blinds policy, right? So, and especially in the US, right, where you have coaching facilities, you have training facilities where the coach might have an office.
Yeah.
The coaches are not allowed to close their door or put down their blinds if they're in their office with any athlete, right? So everyone needs to be able to see into the office. So it's not the days of, oh, close the door behind you, we need to talk. That can't happen anymore. The door needs to stay open. Everyone outside needs to be able to see what's going on with you and that athlete, right? And there's so many, and again, it's because things have happened in the past, right? It's unfortunate that you've had people in power take advantage of younger kids, um, and have hurt them. So now there are things in place where you have to change. I mean, look at gymnastics in the U.S., where the athletes went as far as contacted the FBI. The FBI did not do an investigation, right? And when Simone Biles and her entire team and all of them started making more noise about it, then the FBI went in and investigated and found out this man was abusing these athletes for years, you know, probably up to 100 athletes or more,
Hmm.
right? That this man was abusing, for years, you know. So now again, that's one of the things where that policy is now in place. You can't close doors. You can't put down the blinds in our offices. Everyone needs to be able to see.
Yep.
You know, and unfortunately,
Especially in terms of victimization as well, because I think right now the current issue with the FFB, I don't know if there was a news. I remember I talked about it last week in the podcast. The conflict of interest. Favoritism among athletes at the same time. There's like a betting under the table for between you know, and the same thing goes with the same open blind open door, whereby if athletes not performing at standards, they get penalized for that. Or maybe, if they do, or probably they get mishandled in some form of way. So I don't know if you hear about that incident.
well, I mean, I heard, I know there were some issues with FFB with some of the athletes, and I went to the game. Right, I was at the game the night, and that some of the athletes that they had brought in decided the night before that they weren't gonna play. Right.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I look at it like this: then you, as a professional athlete, you signed a contract, you flew in to Belize to play a
Yep.
game, and the night before the game, now you are trying to hold us hostage by not playing. Right. Now, if you sign a contract, that contract should have stated exactly what FFB had to give you, or whatever food, um, wherever you were supposed to sleep, whatever it is, right? Now you come out, you play your game. Now then you take FFB to hold them to task because now they broke their contract, right? But
Yeah.
you decided you want to break your contract. And again, I don't know, they always say the three sides to a story, right? Your
Besides, yep.
side, your side, his side, and the truth. So we don't know who's stretching the truth or not, but as a former athlete, as a president of a federation, um, I look at it like that leaves a sour taste in my mouth because we went that far as bringing you in to compete to represent the country, and this is what you do. Again, I don't know the full details of it. But as someone looking in that was sitting in the stands in the rain, because it started raining the last probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the game. I sat right there and I got soaking wet watching the game.
Mhm.
Um, I was disappointed because even people in the stands were mentioning, oh, where's this player, where's that player, and then other people started saying, oh, well, they didn't play because they want more money and they want this and that, and these are things I'm hearing behind me,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know what's going on, but I could just tell you what I heard in the stands, right? Um, so if contracts were broken, if promises weren't fulfilled, I don't know, right? But the only thing I could say for sure, FFB had a contract with those athletes to bring them in. They didn't play.
Mhm.
What justification they had for playing, not playing, I don't know, right? Um, but it's a breach of contract. That's how I
Mm.
see it, right?
See, okay.
Um, and for me, it's always, and I'm not defending any national federation, right? I will always defend the athlete first, but the athlete needs to step up and do what they need to do, right?
Yeah.
If we have athletes on Olympic solidarity scholarships, if they're not training on time, if they're not putting in their time, if they're not putting in their energy, then why are you on a scholarship to perform, right? We have, like, for instance, if you look at like Derek Chavaria cycling, he's on a scholarship, and
Okay.
he's showing that he's taking full advantage of that scholarship. I mean, I
Mhm.
think it was the New Year's Day Classic that he won. He's won other races, so he's using that funding, um, to better himself, to be able to train. Um, same thing with cycling again with Gabby Gabriel. full-time student at Sixth Form studying biochem, wants to be a doctor, and she was winning races. I mean, she's kind of slowed down now because those classes get hectic, right? Um, Sean Gill, right? Sean, this is his second quadrennial that he's on a scholarship. He went to the Tokyo Olympics. He's now going to the Paris Olympics because he keeps improving, you know, enough to justify him being on that scholarship, right? Um, so again, it's a lot of little things, So it's just a matter of people taking advantage of it, full advantage of it, and I mean advantage not in a bad way of not abusing it, right?
Yeah.
Take advantage, make it work for you. The same thing with the national federations. They need to to a lot of them need to get serious and show, okay, well, you know what, let's really sit down and do this thing. And unfortunately, everybody's volunteer, right? Everyone volunteers for everything except FFB. Um, FFB, they have their paid staff. Volleyball has some paid staff. Um, but volleyball, you have like Miss Lupita Kwan. She's heavily invested in volleyball, development of female volleyball, where she
Yeah.
built that training facility. She pays coaches, she pays players, hires them at her store, different things like that. Um, but all the other national federations, it's volunteer. And how much time and your money can you come out of every week or every month for the national federation to develop, right?
Yeah. Very true. Well
So
said. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and the thing is, like I said, it's the funding is project based,
Yeah.
right? So even if let's say fencing, right? Fencing would say, okay, well, we're gonna put this project together. This is our budget for the year.
Yeah.
For the year, for us to attend these events, for us to have local events, for us to have rent a building, pay a coach, we need $200,000 for the year. 99% of the time, the Olympic Committee will say yes. The IOC will say yes. But does fencing have $200,000 to lock up until next year? Right?
Mm.
Do they have that money to pay for all of these projects prior to getting reimbursed at the end of the year? And the answer is probably not,
Mm.
right? So then what do? You cut down that budget from 200,000 to $5,000. How much development can you expect for $5,000 when you need to pay a coach, you need to rent a facility, right? You have equipment you need to buy, right? You need to one plane ticket to Guatemala, right? 500 Belize, or I think that may probably about 500 US,
US. Yeah.
right? Um, so then, how many trips can you take? Do you send them on a bus, right? Send them on a bus to Guatemala for 15 hours. Send them to El Salvador on a bus for 22 hours, or Costa Rica for 36 hours, right? So, and that's
Mm.
30, those are hours just going. Now, when you get there, you need to compete. When you
True.
get there, you need to eat. You need to pay registration fee. You need to pay for hotel. Then you need to come back. Now, if you are an adult that's working, you're missing work now. You're missing work for 10 days, 7 to 10 days. How often can you do that,
True.
right? How often will your boss allow you to do that, right? So there's so many different scenarios that people need to understand,
Yeah.
right? Before they can say, oh, this one that, this one this one that. I mean, like look at the basketball team that went to Argentina. Oh, they beat that team,
Brazil.
and yeah, beat Brazil. And, oh yes, yes, Belize. Then they get beat by US. Oh, they suck. Oh, they this. Oh, they that. They this.
That's
It's like make up your mind. You're either gonna support the team or you're not, right? You
yeah.
can't. That's like you always hear about people, and oh, other Lakers fans. But when the Lakers lose, then another Lakers fans,
Yeah.
right? Um, so people have to decide. Look, you're gonna support the team or not. Like I tell you, I sat there in the rain and watch FFB, watch a football game. They were already losing, couldn't come back. But I'm not gonna have, as an athlete, I wouldn't want to look in the stands and see, man, everybody's walking away.
Yeah.
They're not even supporting us anymore, right? The basketball team. I mean, I watch every game. Volleyball teams when they travel and it's on YouTube or whatever. I watch every game because you know
Mhm.
you might not think it, but those kids, those are kids, right? They go back and they watch those YouTube videos and they read all those comments. They look at how many people are watching it, and when they start losing, how many people, you know, log out because they're not interested in supporting them anymore.
Yeah.
All of that makes a huge difference. Uh, um, so I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah, but the whole way, yeah, thing is like that, yes, and think what Belizeans must understand is that the athletes trying their best to represent, and one of the thing is, yes, even though we might not have proper facilities, and even though they say that, like thing is that if the government's not really assisting the federations in helping at least performer willing to at least come with collaboration with the federations, ensuring that we can help at least move forward. Then you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
what
but like
else?
like I had mentioned at the
Mhm.
at the seminar, you
Yeah,
know, um, when Sports Council is telling national federations you need to submit your audited report, your audited
yeah,
financial report every year for you to be recognized. Which federation has $2,000 at least to pay for an audited report, right? And that's just pay for them to do the report.
hmm,
And then if I have that money to pay for that, why would I give it to you and you're not giving me no money,
very true.
right? So you want to see how I spend your money? Well, give me money and then I'll show you how I spend your money,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
Um, like today, the business registry had a little workshop on NPOs and NGOs, so nonprofit
True.
organization and non-governmental organization, which now all national federations need to register as an NPO, right? So without that, you can't open a bank account. You can't do nothing. You can't get any funding, right?
Mm.
So I told them, I tell them, so now you are requiring national federations that barely have any money to now find $1,600 to $1,800 to go pay a lawyer to do yearly registration for you to get your certificate of good standings.
Hmm.
Plus, you are charging these national federation $100 registration for the first time,
Hmm.
and then $100 fee. Right? So you just have a registration fee of $100 plus your, like it's a membership fee of $100. So
Okay.
this membership fee has to be paid every year,
Hmm.
plus the $1,600 to $1,800 every year to the lawyer. Right?
Hmm.
How many national federations can pay for that? Right? How many?
None.
How exactly? I mean, out of the, and I told them, out of the 19 national federations that are recognized by the Olympic Committee, you're talking about maybe five of them can do that. Maybe five of them can do that. So it's a lot of little things that Yes, I understand why they want to do it, right? For money laundering, for anti-terrorism, different things that is mandatory throughout the world, right? That these are things that governments throughout the world have to implement because of these problems with funding terrorism, with money laundering, right? But then government needs to take it upon itself and say, well, you know what? National federations that are recognized by Olympic Committee or Sports Council, right? This is
Mhm.
what we will do. We will cover this car. We will use the Attorney General's office to do the paperwork for you. We'll use these facilities. So all you need to do is bring in your paperwork and we'll submit it for you. We will make sure everything's submitted so you are in good standings, and we go from there, right? Um, like I said, for right now, you need to come up with only $2,000. Only $2,000, and if you get $500 from government to help for your sport, you're good. You know, unless you're you're well connected. Like if you have BTB supporting your national federation, or this minister or that minister, they help finance your mundialito or your bicycle race or your basketball game or your football tournament, then what do you do? How do you develop? Right? You know, I mean, and like I said, there's so many things that when you look at it, it becomes kind of discouraging. But then, I mean, I'm not one to just hang up my hat and say, "Oh, that throw up my hand. I done. I know I mess with it." Yeah, I will make noise about it, right? Um, so for me, that's what it is. I have no issues making noise about it. If I see you're doing something wrong, um, I'll say it. I post. If you follow me on Facebook, I post about everything that I personally think is wrong, right? When it comes to sports infrastructure, when with streets, you know, um, everything. If I see waste, things not being done right, I have no issues with opening my mouth. Gets me in trouble, but I I have to open my mouth, right?
Yes, but it's very important that you make these concerns because end of the day, it's important because again, even though with the constitution reform, freedom of this, freedom of speech and freedom of press is not really much held accountable or at the forefront of everything right now. But at the same time, if society sees these issues and say, you know what, we're at a breaking point, that I think it's time we make noises until something has done, then you know it has to be,
Yeah,
like
I mean, as much as I wouldn't want to compare Belize to Guatemala, right? Um, you know, you raise the price of a bus fare in Guatemala by 5 cents, then they burn down bus, then they block roads,
Hmm.
because those people understand that 5 cents is a huge difference in their monthly income, out of their monthly income, right? Where in Belize, you raise gasoline by $5, and it's like, hey, no, 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 that's all you hear, and that's it. Right? I'm not saying nobody will burn no bus, right?
Yeah.
Never did, but I mean, do something, make some noise about it, do something so that people hear, or like they always say, oh, wait till election time, you know, show the election time. So you're gonna go 5 years without saying anything and hope that other people agree with you silently, and then when they go vote, they vote whoever in or whoever out.
Yeah.
That's personally, that's not me. You I know people from both sides, and I tell both of them what I feel is wrong, what I feel needs to be changed. And you know, if I'm labeled this party or that party, I don't care. You know, um, so that's just the way I look at things.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Giovanni, for being on the podcast. So, to all the viewers, good evening, especially to Miss Destra, Miss Allen, and Miss Young. Thank you guys so much for watching the live. So, a reminder again, so June the 23rd, again, it's Olympic Day. It's going to be at Marian Jones. 8 o'clock a.m. is registration, and the run kicks off at 9. So, bring out the family, bring out everybody. Let's come out, support the athletes, and have a family fun time.
Right, right. Again, no registration fee. The first 200 participants that come out get a free T-shirt. You get a little ticket where you can go get refreshments. Walk around. Bring out the kids. We have different categories, different distances. So you don't have to really worry yourself if you have a 5-year-old or a 90-year-old. Come out and we have something that you'll be able to participate in.
Yes. Thank you again, Mr. Meyer. Thank you again, Mr. Giovanni. Looking forward to have you again next podcast. And
Thanks,
hope you have a
thanks
good
for
night.
having me, Chris. Yeah, thanks for having me,
Yes.
Christopher.
No problem.
Bye.
Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme. First, make we see how far your back bend. If you don't know how, get less of a current. Turn your body round like a smoothie or the blend. New dance trend. Style we no borrow, style we no lend. For sure, we no dey beg no friend. From in the thing far way back when for the elders and the children can't do the thing they gonna to do it like charge. Back it up in the garage. Make they know we squad living life.
And it is Wednesday, midweek, here in Belize. Overcast, but dry today. Though there's forecast of rain to come. But so far the rainy season has not been as diligent as it can be and usually is. I am G. Michael Reed, inviting you to join us again tonight for our podcast live from New York City, but I'm in Belize City. Of course, Gregory Morrison is in Los Angeles as he's I see his name pops up, but maybe he's not having difficulty again coming in. Last week he had some technical difficulties. Joe Cowie usually joins us also from Belize City. And I don't know, we were hoping to have a few special guests this evening. It's always a challenge, folks, because many times the time difference and the scheduling of people, it's not always easy to fit in the time. We try to be with you every week and try to make the discussion lively. We don't count our shows. We try to make our shows count. Again, welcome. Thank you. The situation, as per usual, in Gaza, which is where my mind is most of the time, hoping for the better as far as the end of the violence and the killing and the just needless deaths. I believe that Netanyahu is on his way to address Congress if he has not done so already. I'm not even interested in listening to that. I'm telling you the truth. I think it's unfortunate that the US is not seeing through what is happening here after they themselves had been perpetrators in such a similar move, but way back when we didn't have internet then, and when what used to happen back then certainly should not be happening now with the whole world watching. The university students are still up in arms. Everybody across the globe, except for two countries. It's kind of like when they were trying to get independence. Only one or two countries were resisting. Hi, Deidre. I'm not seeing you on a long time. Um, we're Sonia Allen. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Uh, Hi, Julia. Julia also we know is sister to CY, who's the executive producer of the show, and also out there painting up the children at every event. She's always on hand to add that colorful touch. The kids love it. Really, they love that painting up and looking like something else. And she does a good job of that. We are not we're not having any major event at the Charlie Burton Park, but we do want to do the usual back to school. This happens in August, of course. Um, we are going to bring you updates on any event. I have been recently working with the crew at the Yabra Green. We've been touching up the sign, uh, clipping all the flowers and whatnot, and getting ready to put the fence up. We have already put up the pole, and the pictures you will see. There's Pilaf. Those of you will recognize him. And this fellow that's sitting with him, we call him Kali. He's Turton. He's a spectacular striker. I had about 7 goals in about 3 games. But the man is really, there's another young man on there, a cousin of his, Baga. Super, super special players. Actually, they both come out of a yard on Caesar Ridge Road. They call the place Tut B. But the one yard that has produced a number of athletes and stars. And I really would want to one day do a story on that entire area, because it's the type of impoverished area of Belize City, way back to Yabra, sometimes forgotten, but these kids are out there playing ball. You should see what Pilaf has done with a bunch of them, and just the kids are out there on a regular basis. And if you were talking about an alternative to crime, and speaking of crime, we saw a couple of incidents. One particular cold, heartless murder of a young man. Yeah, and many times we don't know the full depth of these stories, because depending on who you talk to, you get a different version. But this young man was supposedly helping his father in a mechanic shop and lost his life. Though I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she was telling me how frightening it is to even when people think about visiting Belize. And I'm telling her that, you know what? On a daily basis, there are more murders that happen in many other places. Our situation in Belize is that we highlight all the negative stuff that occurs. Anything negative gets the news. I want to, without hesitation, big up two wonderful young ladies that made us very proud this past Sunday. I have not heard much of it on the media in Belize and the news, but they don't know how big this is. I'm telling you. Many people in Belize look to the Oscars. Oh, this one Oscar winner and whatnot. That's given for movies. But when you excel in the theater, because the theater I'm talking about live performances, you're interacting with the audience face to face. Those of you who have gone to the Bliss knows what it's like. But if you've ever had the experience of attending a Broadway play, you will know what I'm talking about. The electricity in the air, there's just something special about it. and there are hundreds of players each year. But from those hundreds of players, they select the best of the best in the category of best actor, best um, best play, of course, best producer, etc., etc. And two of the best performances were given by ladies with deep Belizean roots. I happen to have connections with both, know both actually. Vanessa, who does a lot of help with our fundraising, of course, is the mother of Cara Jenkins Young, our father, Clay Young, very special fellow, son, not son, but nephew to Belizean legend Henry Young. His father himself was also a Belizean legend, Evan Young. On the other coast in Los Angeles, we have Jalea Joy Moon. Now, that's not the Belizean name. She has an American father, but that young lady also has made us very proud. I know her mom personally. I never get to meet that child because I had left the U.S. before she was born. But excellent work by two wonderful young ladies. Joe is on. Jose, come
Yeah,
on,
my brother.
estás. I hear you loud and clear. You're looking good. How are you, Belize or Placencia?
I'm in Belize.
All right, I know you commute between the two places, so
Yeah, but I'm in the world capital tonight.
yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Greg should be on. I see I attempted to come on
Can you
from.
hear me? Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you, but I can't see you unless you're in a very dark room there, Greg. Turn the lights on.
It doesn't matter, Mr. Chairman. Whatever is done in the dark will come out in the light.
no, no frightening man like that, man, because I'm sure you got a few things you don't want make visible yet. Greg, you're there, so if we can hear you, I don't know what your camera is not working well. Joe, I'm going to talk about the Tony Awards by the two Belizean ladies. I'm sure you're aware of it. Two exceptional, because this is not nothing small, you know. The Tony Awards are a big deal in America. The Broadway shows, they're no simple thing, and I saw a couple of shows when I was there. Actually, two that I remember distinctly. One was with James Earl Jones, and that was Fences, a spectacular play. And next one was Serafina, about some young South African. Well, it was done by South African kids during the time of apartheid, so they were um, also exceptional in their performance. But I'm saying that nothing easy. You know, that's something where you're face to face with the audience and have to be on top of your game every night. 2, 3 shows a day sometimes. Um, I don't know how they do it. Have you ever, were you into theater at any time? Did you do any kind of performing arts, even in school?
No. Well, the most we had was where we used to have the Christmas shows.
Okay.
What we used to call it into something. I don't even remember. But we used to have every Christmas at the parish hall.
Well, I dropped in. Yeah, I dropped in the other day at Bliss Institute. And I'm telling you that we stumbled on performing arts from the children's, we call it Children's Festival of Arts. Uh, there were some super performances by the children. So I think we're going to see more of this in the future. I don't know how far we'll get in Belize because once they finish out of school, I see a number of plays being produced, but primarily about with foreign actors and performers. I see with the guy named is coming back to town, the very funny comedian man from Jamaica.
Or Summers.
Yeah, Oliver.
Oliver.
Oliver is doing one, and I believe.
Very good. I like Oliver.
Yeah, I believe there's also another show coming, courtesy of our friend up there in Florida. They very active. The guy is very active in theater there and did a couple of shows here already. Also, Ray Gongora Jr.
Yes.
Yeah. OB actually the guy is an OB. I think it's junior. I'm not sure. CY might be able to tell
You
me.
know, I wouldn't want to make a comment about the performing arts for the reason that maybe they are happening and I am not any longer sort of have the interest that I used to. But I remember the days back when Bliss was in fact Bliss in the beginning. I saw some very great performances at the Bliss. So from then I could have seen that there were a lot of talents in this country. A matter of fact, I recall back then a classmate of mine had reached up to Broadway. And it's true he didn't really hit the top. But I went to Broadway 3 times to, to look at the performances there. And I was very impressed with Belizeans from what I saw there and what I was seeing here in Belize, right at the Bliss. So many people who come forward and showing their talents. No? I remember too the one I used to go to when I go to Barbados, to Trinidad. I used to like that. That was heavily sponsored by the business community, Scouting for Talents, every Sunday night. And the business community, and I mention it only because I felt too that these things could still be done. I'm not giving up on them. I still see the hope that Belize can develop an industry. I see it as an industry for the performing arts, and I also see sports as a part of it. So I had a many enjoyable days at the Bliss, Mr. Chairman. Very enjoyable days, I must say. I saw a lot of good performing.
Do you believe though there's room for growth once they reach a certain can is there potential for them to maybe develop some kind of career in that field here in Belize? Because you're talking about way back when you used to see performances, so we haven't then gone too far past that.
Well, I will go back to not very long ago. That was when with Glenn Tillett, who had a lot of interest in developing the performing arts, particularly in the field of. I was not a jazz person, but I must say I was impressed. And then I walked along with him with a guy from CARICOM, but they funded through the Caribbean Development Bank. They had an arm. And this guy was trying to get people in Belize involved by getting soft loans. Huh? And we had meetings with him. And it was looking quite promising. Then we had meetings with the mayor of the city. Then it was Barry Bradley. It looked quite promising. And then we had with Mitch. And the idea was to begin right here at the Memorial Park. And then from there, they would move it across the country at the destinations, mainly the tourist destinations. So we were looking at, of course, San Pedro, Placenta, and up in the west. But I maintain that, one, I feel strongly that the government has an obligation to put more financing into it. Two, I believe strongly that the business community could perhaps help to seed it. Though the person who is willing to take the risk, and that we may not find so easily, who has the capital to take that risk, I believe that he can in fact develop it and make money from it. Because the whole idea of the industry is evidently to make money.
Well, once you have a product that can attract people and satisfy them when they figure their money is well spent, I don't think we're gonna have a problem at all in filling the bliss and indeed turning a profit.
I agree with that. Certainly, a matter of fact, there were people who, because there was a time I said I was very much involved, and the criticism was that when they bring the foreign artists from outside, especially right from within the Caribbean, how they flock the place and, they really patronize it, even with the big fees, the big tickets. But I sense also that, as you rightly say, if we can satisfy them that we have a product, because I saw it happening. I saw shows right at the Biltmore. And then But somewhere else, I saw one down in Placenta at Naya, and it was well attended. People are prepared to pay for it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
to find somebody who is prepared to invest in it, and that's where I think the issue is. Somebody who is prepared to take the risk to invest, with the government giving support, of course. And there's many ways the government can give the support apart from the fiscal incentives.
Well, I was happy to see schools involved, really, and I wasn't aware that it was still so alive. And some of the performances were spectacular. I mean, they were very impressive.
Well,
Again, though, I think that they come out of school and it's just like with the sports, because they might play on these sports and then they come out and then there's nothing else to do. They reach a certain level and there's no room for growth. So we really have to look at that, because sports and the arts are very important tools for education. I mean, it's a way of getting children aware of life and the challenges and whatnot and how to meet it, no? Gregory, what's happening in Los Angeles, bro? How's the,
Good evening. Good evening. Well, I know they're having the diaspora seminar. They had it, I think, from the 17th to today in Los Angeles, and then on the 28th and some other time it will be in Santa Monica. So I haven't had a chance to attend because I've been so busy with my own work obligation. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I will get a chance to go out in the next day or two.
I think you're a feature presenter, man. You never got yeah. I
No,
hope. I noticed
I
in the
know, I know
Giwe land.
I know Lisa is involved with it, and I do hope it's going well. I haven't had a chance to check in with her on it, but
I hope
I
you check
suspect
in and
all
give us an update.
yeah. And I was hoping to get out there today. One of my plans, but I end up running late, was to go out there and probably try to host it from that location and see if I could run into some of the people and have a conversation with them. But I didn't get that chance. But that was my hope.
All right, you still have time because they're gonna be out there for a while, no?
Yeah, but they'll leave on the 22nd, I think. So I was hoping to do like a live with them, but I didn't get that chance to be there today. Traffic was just too bad in that
I see
direction.
Deidre clocked in a while ago. Is Deidre involved in that at all, or just Lisa?
I think she did some early communication with them and when they were setting it up initially. But I think Lisa is actually working the floors and helping them organize it to some extent. I don't know that Deidre is doing that.
I think I saw something about 500 or so passports that were handed out, that the people were able to secure passports for themselves and family members and whatnot. But I imagine that is the passport section of it. But they
Mhm.
were
A
also
lot is
dealing
going
with
on. A lot is going on.
land issues.
Mhm.
I hope they don't make no promises that has not been approved by consensus. Because
Well, I don't know what consensus they need. I think the ministry is here, so that's the place to get it done. So I don't think anything is going on that's not tort.
that's not above board.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. It's just-
Well, and in fact, I think one of the radio stations, Krem, might be up there covering it live. I think I heard them this morning coming in live from there, and the next couple of days they should be there also. No?
Yes.
Okay, you know hear nothing from them, Joe. What have you heard?
no, quite frankly, I haven't been following up on it except the little snippets that I pick up on the morning shows,
Yeah.
But I haven't been.
I think the prime minister is here too. I think that's what I read, that he was going to make an appearance, but I'm not sure.
Not only the prime minister, but the leader of the opposition is supposed to be hosting something up there.
Oh,
So-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man, you
I
guys.
better make my way there.
You have to. You have to show that support, man. Encourage the man. Where how you see that situation? Is he going to hang on to leadership? Is he going to do well as leader?
Well, I think the challenge have always been for him, and I right now I don't see any real viable person, and that's why he remains the leader. But he had really put a strong hold on it after he had won the election, and he said, "I will let you back into the party, Patrick, if you agree to support me through this election." So I think that's the position that probably Saldiva and Patrick has taken. Those are his main contenders for leadership. Both of them have flaws and don't come across. I mean, those other individuals as as
As you're
very
saying that,
strong, very strong. So, but based on the fact that they had committed to him on those conditions, Patrick with his problem and Faber with his problem agreed to support him through this election. So
you mean
I think he'll
John?
hold on. I think he has the hold until the election is called and the election is over. I don't suspect that the opposition party or the United Democratic Party is going to do anything better than they have done in the past, based on what I've seen.
Well, I have
Than where they stand now. Than where they stand now.
I have proffered the prediction that the PUP, this PUP, will be in office longer than the George Price era. Of the PUP.
No, I don't think that will ever be repeated in our history again.
I think so. I don't see anything down the road. I don't see anything on the horizon, Greg. I mean, I don't see a strong
The parties
unity.
fall out of favor for many different reasons. The reason right now is that the opposition is not a contender. That's how I see it. They haven't demonstrated themselves to be a contender in.
Well, is the leadership maybe the problem? Is it that the leadership is not as strong as it can be, or
It could be the leadership, and there's no contentious issues in the nation right now. There's nothing that galvanizing and making people going for a change. I don't see anything that's happening that's causing an uproar or a headache in the minds of the people. The economy has rebounded since COVID. People seem to be happy. The prime minister seemed to be making good moves in terms of just recently he gave back that 10% with the unions that they had taken away and stuff. So he's making all
signed a collective bargaining agreement with the unions.
Yes. So he's making all the right moves to reduce the opposition against him and his party. And there haven't been any major scandal in the party. There haven't been anything, and as I said, the economy seemed to be moving along pretty well. Maybe Mr. Cowie could throw something in on that.
Economy, Joe, how is it going?
I have never seen a party and its merits because of the weakness of the other party, the opposition. I don't think that it is good for our democracy, nor is it good for the incumbent to not have a challenge. But that aside, I must say that we don't have any serious issues in terms of the economy with its growth. We don't have any serious issues in terms of the deficit with the budget. We don't have any serious issues in terms of the loans, the debt. So if you look at the macroeconomy, I would say yes, it is looking good. But I would not believe that because the macroeconomy is looking good, it necessarily augurs well for development.
Well, the cost of living has been
I was
going
just doing
high.
Comparatively. I was not saying that. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was not saying that things are rosy. I'm just saying comparatively, I didn't see where the opposition could make any headway in the current construct of things as they are right now.
They don't have no issue to galvanize around and
Yes.
harp on and
like I said, the unions that are good organizers and are able to get a lot of show and a lot of presence and noise, they I think are going to be satisfied with what the prime minister did recently.
Yeah.
But I think that the challenge for the opposition is not a challenge to me that would be so formidable in terms of what maybe the incumbent is doing. Because obviously, if one takes a proper look at the performance, and I was coming to that just now, on the macroeconomic data, it looks good. But I maintain that the distribution is not an equitable distribution, which continues to manifest itself through the persistent poverty, through the kind of violence within the community, through the increases in fall the white collar workers, non-performances in contracts. We are seeing it manifesting itself through the legal profession, through the very accounting profession, which I'm a member of. So to me, there are so many things that are not what I consider to be, I would consider it that it does not augur as well then. But what is happening is that the opposition lacks vision. It doesn't have the kind of charismatic leader, the visionary people among it, who can take a government. Not many people today, when I listen to them, if they don't even understand the Constitution, how can they evaluate the performance of a government? So at worst, it is the person who feels it can say, well, things are not good. But if you look at the benefit that is flowing to those who are getting a very high share of the GDP, obviously they are looking good. The merchandising sector is looking pretty good. But what happened? They are getting a high share. In the manufacturing era, there was increases in the manufacturing era, but who are in fact benefiting?
I think there's
the problem facing us is a weak opposition.
Yeah, I think one area is crime, because I think we've been having some sensational crimes of late. Again, though, I've spoken to a number of people who, like Greg, who would ordinarily be on the opposition side, seem to be saying, well, we're willing to give them one chance because so far things don't look that bad. Am I correct in that assessment, Greg, that you're willing to?
I'm saying I'm saying that the government is doing the things that are necessary in terms of maintaining the status quo of power. The opposition is very weak. It doesn't come across as committed in some ways. It seems like a facade why they stay together, and that the leadership is not challenged, and it's just because of the structure of how
it's a fragile unity, if you will.
Yes.
Fragile unity.
Yes. And I think the people sense that the citizens of the country sense that, and for that reason, they're not committed to it either.
Sad situation. Because
when you look at how the voters, generally speaking, how we tend to vote in elections, and I think it was somebody on this show may have mentioned it, sometimes the voting is not to vote in a party, it's more to vote out one. So what doesn't make it good for us in terms of our democracy is this comparison that we make.
But we always make that comparison. In politics, it's always a comparison. It's always a competition. So I don't see how that drift too far from how.
No, I don't buy that. I think
we're always comparing between one party, one individual, than the other. That's what election is about. That's the entire process.
That's not the way I've been following politics internationally. That's not the way it was in Belize in the earlier years.
Wasn't it competition? Of course it was competition. It was always competition.
Yeah.
It was always, we're voting for someone we like or someone we don't like, or a party we like or a party we don't like, a party we trust, a party we don't trust. Those are the parameters, and those are the way people face election.
Let me give you a recent example. Coming into the elections of 2020, after the PUP lost in 2008, there were 3 consecutive elections that the United Democratic Party won.
Yes.
But for me, as a voter, and many others who are more sophisticated, sorry to have to put it that way, in terms of how to evaluate performance, the government of the day had become dysfunctional, politically and administratively dysfunctional. So to me, they had gone to such a low ebb that almost any other opposition would have defeated them.
Well,
And the
that's
point
where
I'm making, the
But
point I want,
lots of trickery happened why that election,
the
why
point I
why the
point I
opposition.
want, the point I want to make there is that you set your benchmark, but you don't use your opposition for your benchmark.
Well,
You have to be able to come to the people with your vision and how you plan to carry out that vision to fulfill.
But we know that's not the reality on the ground of how things are, and
No, no,
why.
we know it is not the reality, and I agree with you. It's not the reality, and that is what is unfortunate. Which I think that I always wanted to try carry a discussion in that direction, because we are not supposed to accept the reality because it's the reality. You're supposed to be able to set your ideals and recognize the reality as not acceptable and work towards the ideals. So what I'm saying today, what is happening to us, we are voting for the lesser of two evils.
well, it's not always the case, though. I mean,
Ah,
that unfortunately for a long time that has been the case.
that's right.
And probably until we change the way we elect our leaders, that will always be the case. Proportional
Oh,
representation.
sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
don't think it is. I'm not saying that if you change the system of election going to proportional representation, but that is not the fundamental problem with us. The fundamental problem, from my standpoint and my experience in politics, is that the voters themselves are not sufficiently interested in understanding what is it that you must want the government to do. So what many voters...
I think a proportion of the people that makes the turn of the election are not. But I think, like you said, a vast majority of our voters are sophisticated. But we have a marginal percentage that we could pay off, we could buy. And I'm not saying you can't buy some of the same big people, but I'm saying a lot of people make a rational decision in the end of how am I going to survive.
So tell me.
Sorry, just my man.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
If in 2008, the people in the voting, and I'm not here to chastise the voters, I'm simply here to say that if they had looked seriously at the two parties, the incumbent, which was the PUP, and the opposition, I would say good reason why they should have voted back the PUP in 2008. I thought it was a serious mistake they made. And that is something that I would prepare to debate with anyone. But if you had a government, as the PUP was, that came into office with a public sector-driven expansionary policy, perhaps getting too overzealous, and maybe some areas questionable, where it did create debts that is as unmanageable. It did create some bad lending to the DFC and the Social Security. And evidently those things came to haunt the party. But the reality of the 2008, the 1998-2008 government, especially the 2004 to 2008, that party was able to restore itself. That when they came into election in 2008, the economy of this country and the public financing were in very strong condition. And that was proven by the IMF, the World Bank, ECLA, and all of them. But
people weren't looking at that then because the campaign and the propaganda as it pertained to the UHS and thing were vicious. Right. And then you had, of course, the media houses that were upset because, and I know exactly what happened then is that they cut subventions to all the media houses about 2005, which really, that tipped the point there. I think that really made a big difference. I don't think anybody was surprised about the 2008 loss, but I think the surprise was that 2012 they almost won, except for those resignations that happened just before the election, when Cordell and Mark and somebody else bailed out. Anthony Mala, of course, was the first one to go. And they lost by very little. So after that,
by 2 or 3 votes they lost.
Yeah. After that, though, when Petro Karim came on board full strength, then they would have been in for some time. So,
but and then these are the things that sometimes it's kind of not too easy to discuss for the reason that if we try to evaluate the performance of a government, I can ask, where do we begin to evaluate that performance? In my judgment, we begin with your constitution. And one of the first obligations of the state is the security and safety of the citizens, which is in the constitution. Then from there, we go on to other requirements like health,
Well,
education.
corruption is a big one too, right? Because
But if you look at what happened, when the PUP lost in 2008, he handed over to the incoming government a public sector that was in strong financial position. And that was proven by ECLA, the World Bank, IMF, and all of them said it, that when the recession came down from the US in 2008 with the bursting, ECLA commented strongly. He said Belize suffered the storm the best. So the reality is that the PUP left behind a very strong government. But within 4 years' time, at 5, the UDP had totally disregarded good public sector management to the point that they could have lost that election.
But I hear Greg suggesting that the Belize has a number of a lot of sophisticated voters. But I don't know, because are they sophisticated enough to understand these things that you're talking about?
Well,
I think
it is voters, but how many of them do we have?
No, I think we have a high percentage. If you look how people vote in certain electoral division, and then you look at the margin of win by any party that wins, it is 50, 60 votes is the margin. So it tells, and then we know a lot of vote buying happens. I know Mr. Cowie keeps not wanting to take that in seriously, but a lot of vote buying happens in these last moments, and that changed the dynamics and the momentum of who should justly be controlling the government many times in our society. And it happens on both sides, but that totally corrupts and puts the system in a shambles of understanding and coming up with any integrity in the system.
But Mr. Morrison, let us quickly look at the components that you were making reference to just now. We talk of, yes, sophisticated voters. We talk, yes, of voters that can be bought. We also know that there are voters who will back the PUP, which we call the base of the party, as you have in UDP.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at voters, and you can speak of these different characteristics of voters, we are not doing the polling to determine which is what is absent in Belize. We cannot say how many of these voters are sophisticated, how many of these voters can be bought, how many of these voters are extreme base parties. Now, if you look in America right now, even though Trump may seem to be so of a rogue, a felon, a criminal, despite that, you have polling, and the polling is showing him to doing pretty good. So at least you can say, despite of what they may be saying about him, he is showing good polling. But what can we say in Belize? Because we can only guess and estimate.
Talking about sophisticated voters, how many voters do you believe are swayed by results from the polls? Because many voters follow the polls, and they go with the people loves a winner. So if it seems like somebody's ahead, that in itself might influence some people to vote that way, don't you think?
Of course it does. That's what I'm saying. There are so many characteristics, there's so many factors that influence voters. But in the absence of polling, we can only use our gut feeling or our personal experience if we are involved in the campaigns and we are wide out in the country. But we cannot say how many of these voters in a poll is like that or who is like this. No. So what Belize to move into politics into a higher level, that when we make these judgments like we are trying to do now, we know all of these things that we say are true, but we do not know what percentage they are.
When I use the term sophisticated, I was limiting it to people that are in business, people that are working, people that are supposed to be able to analyze issues and speak to them. And that's what I was using in terms of sophistication. Um, and the problem I see is that while we have all those people and all those type of voters, a lot of the election, um, last time it was a blowout, right? But quite a few of the recent elections since independence has been won by party with 5, 6, 7 vote constituent wins, right? And we noticed that a lot of those constituents that won, the margin of the difference between the party that won and the party that lost was very small, less than 100 votes. And I contribute that many times and say it got corrupted and we don't get a true assessment of it when we have this issue of vote buying, and it's prevalent and it's real. And I think it is something that kind of affects the true flow of our democracy.
Can we address that? You think, Greg, this vote buying, and maybe one of the reasons
there are
we
laws
don't address
against it.
Well, the thing is that because people like Joe don't take it seriously, as you have suggested, I don't think, Joe, do you believe that the vote buying plays a significant role in the outcome of the elections?
Whenever you have where the priority is pretty narrow in one division, maybe because of the candidates, the character of the candidates, you will find that the vote buying, whichever way they do it, can in fact make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have divisions where I have seen literally vote buying, big, and the side that was buying the votes lost terribly.
Yeah.
I saw that.
We have seen
that.
Yeah. All right.
So to me, the issue of what is it that at the end of the day will make the difference, there is the cumulative effect of many factors.
Well, yeah, but
evaluating these things, we need more data, we need more information. We are only going mostly by sometime by gut feeling.
I hear you. I see Lisa has popped up. Lisa has an update on the seminar. Lisa, are you ready for that? Or want to do that later?
I can do it now. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys? Good evening, audience.
Good evening. Any surprises for us?
Well, very, very, very good surprises, actually. I am very content that the first portion of the immigration clinic has gone well the last 3 days. I personally went there today with my mom, and I must say, the ladies that were processing the paperwork were very, very, very courteous, very informative. If you had applications that were incomplete, they sat with you, they went over it with you. They gave a lot of information, and I'll give a good example. My mom's experience today is that her birth certificate seems to have had some discrepancies. They were able to look in a system and find out that her name was changed to the correct name back in 2018, although it was not properly registered. And so now we need to file the proper documentation, deed, what is it called, a deed poll?
Yes.
I think that's a terminology they use.
Yes, it is a deed poll, yeah.
So we need to file that, but they took her application, they took her picture for passport purposes, for passport renewal. Most of everyone that was there, the payment system was very easy. We were able to pay with cash, cashier's check. We were able to pay with a card if need be. So I was really excited. I mean, this has been a success today. I can't tell you how grateful my mom and I were to have that good experience. We were able to actually meet some of the other ladies that were there as well. So it was this was an eventful success. That much I can say. So for the audience out there, people who are in LA, there are a few appointments still left for the LAX Marriott Summit Immigration starting tomorrow, Thursday. I mean, start tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday. This is a one-time event here in LA. It's the first time, you guys. If you need your passports and or any immigration paperwork or documentation needs to be done, come out. Make your appointment online. Come out. This clinic is really serving what we've been asking for here in the diaspora. They are putting their mouth to action, and I love it. So
What,
I am very, very happy.
what
Did you
was
get
the
to meet the
attendance
prime
like?
minister? Was he out
Huh?
there today? Was the prime minister out there today?
The prime minister will be here tomorrow. He's going not tomorrow, Friday. I'm sorry, but he will be here on Friday, and he will also attend the gala on Saturday. The opposition leader is here. He's going to be doing a live tomorrow in one of the discussion panels with questions and answers, and that will be hosted or moderated by a young lady by the last name of Miss Anna Banner Guy.
Okay.
So that will also take place in one of the discussions tomorrow in the afternoon.
How was
But
the
but
attendance, Lisa? What
you
was
know
the
what?
attendance
Very
like?
good outcomes. My understanding Monday they had a good 50 plus people. To yesterday they had just about, and today when I was there around lunchtime, there were about 25 people in there processing paperwork.
Well, given the population of the Belizean diaspora over there in Los Angeles, that's kind of like not
It's very well. Remember, I don't have exact numbers. I can't give you exact numbers, but I know it was a pretty good. Well, it was pretty good outcome Monday. Definitely Monday and yesterday.
so
Today,
it
like I
was
said, I
people
went during lunchtime.
it was people going in and out, or is there
In
so
and
they
out,
just
very.
okay?
That was the other thing.
Yeah.
Um,
What's
when we
captured?
got there, we were checked in very easily. The process was not difficult. And mom said that she checked in. She was out of there within 90 minutes. And the only reason she was there longer was because of the whole birth certificate confusion.
What was it? What really prompted this? It was because of complaints that people never have their status, their nationality status in order.
Well, I think several things, Mr. Coe. There are several things that initiated the immigration office to come out. One, because every time we go home, we're treated like other. If we, especially those that don't have updated social security cards or passports. So when we go back home, all we have is U.S. stuff, and we have to keep, you know, it's a hard challenge. It's a very challenging process to go open a bank account, to go purchase things. When we visit the national parks, they don't they look at us like foreigners. Yes, we're still tourists in our own country, but we want to be treated as
That's how
equals.
G Mike likes it.
So no,
I'm
no, no, no.
wondering. I
So
don't think.
also, and then another one of the issues that was brought up was because a lot of family members have assets in Belize, and when they pass on, there's wills that are not registered legally by the courts, and when we go there, we don't have Belizean documentation to say that we are descendants of so and so and so. So it makes it very challenging for us to do name transfers of land, or get access to finances that are not left in our names. So for all those purposes, I think it's become so challenging, and so much complaints, that immigration heard us, the ministry heard us, the summit organizers organizers made it, made a plea for them to support that idea. And then
Yeah.
there's also people that are unable to go back to Belize for a passport, and so this was a good opportunity for them to renew their passports.
Well,
Can
a
I
good, a
just
good place for
comment?
the immigration people to pitch, huh?
Can I comment? Can I comment on the attempt to clear up these backlogs? I want
Go
to
ahead,
comment
Joe.
from the standpoint that there was a time I know in Los Angeles where Belizeans, and so it was, but very much so in LA, had no problem in applying for passports and got their passports. So it seems to me that there
I
have been
think
some
what had
breakdown.
happened, if you remember, the immigration office issuing passport was out of commission for like 6 months, almost a year, when they had those problems in the conversion of the new passport. They had a machine, then it broke, then they needed to change it to a more reliable and more sophisticated system. So a lot of people got trapped in that, because I myself had that issue at one point when I went for my passport. The machine was broken, and the local consulate here was not accepting any application because they weren't sure when the equipment and the system would have been back, because they were changing the type of verification system.
All right,
It
so
became very electronic.
so this is only a once and for all to clear the backlog. After that, things will go back to normal.
I think so, because they still issue passport through the local consulate. They take it from you and they send it to Belize and get
but
their.
the question I'm asking, I just want to affirm it. This is only because you want to clear up that backlog, and after that you go back to normal, that they'll be able to get their service as they used to.
You
I believe
asking a
that's the
question,
case.
Joe, or you're
I
making
believe
a
that's the
statement?
case.
That's a
I believe-
question I'm asking.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, because even before they came, the consulate was still doing it, Mr. Cowie. Just that it was more cumbersome because they take it from you and then they have to send it to Belize. Now you're dealing directly with the people from Belize, and you don't have to worry about getting it transmitted in that way. But
I want
were.
So
to go back to
they will be visiting LA intermittently, I mean every so often, to do this?
no, Lisa says it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
therefore,
no, but I want to go back to something Lisa was saying about the way they were treated, or the way
Hello.
people from
Yeah, we can hear you, Lisa.
yeah, but because I'm thinking that I don't know that that's a general thing. Though she says it in a general way, but not everybody in Belize will do that, will they? I mean, you find that just across the board? Because there are many people let me put it this way, and this was the point I made on another issue that was brought up, that's something where all of we go through in Belize, a level of incompetence that Joe is always talking about, that we really don't have our act together when it comes to public relations and dealing with people in a professional way. So I to say that is something that, and then when you go in and you don't have the proper documents, we face the same problems here at home. They make it rough on us too. So I don't think that's something that's specific to the diaspora as such.
It's just more difficult for us, Mr. Chairman, to resolve it.
Well, I imagine so most of the time you have time.
Yeah, we have a short time frame when we're there. You can't spend all your time at the immigration office, and so it does become more difficult for us. So I'm sure most people appreciate the reach out that the government has made and the ministry has made in coming here and facilitating the needs of citizens in getting their passports.
Sam Dredd wants to know why you don't have a working consulate in every a community.
Well, it's expensive, right? It's a very expensive.
It is. Who's going to pay for that in major cities? We do.
And I think we do have in the major city. I think we have in New York, Florida, Chicago, Washington. Texas. I know some people that are the
honorary consuls.
Honorary consulate. Yeah.
I don't want to sound like I am just beating up, but sometimes I wonder what happens with us. I don't want to use it cruelly, but if they punish us for a while and then they give us a treat, we are happy. The point I'm making is simple this. We have had consulates, certainly in Los Angeles, certainly in Miami, certainly in New York, And these things were clearly something that our Belizean abroad were entitled to.
Yes.
But sometimes we tend to make this thing look as if though we are doing favors. And then we pick up for it, and we felt, but boy, they were so nice. And the thing about it, these things are entitlements under the Constitution for our people, wherever they are.
Yeah.
And I think agree with you that there's how we're going to take government and let it perform the way it should. And that was the point I was making earlier. So here now we take an event and we big it up. The same thing happened here in Belize City. I give the minister credit because what he does, he has a mobile clinic that he goes to different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And to try to get people to get their leases. But that's not the way government is supposed to be operating.
Yeah, yeah. You're
what I'm
correct.
saying is that people go through a period of denial. And then whenever you decide to give them, it's just like what they did to the French people before the revolution. Whenever they seem to be getting a little bit annoyed, they give them cake and lemonade.
Sam says there's no consulate in New York. No, Sam, there is. In fact, that is where
an embassy there.
Yeah.
We have an embassy, a full-fledged embassy.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have. I remember Lois Young was the recent ambassador to the U.S. over there.
Well, she was some long time ago, not recent, but
wasn't that long ago?
It was more than 8 years ago.
That's relatively recent indeed.
Oh, okay.
Come on, the embassy is still there. We still have it.
Yeah, we do.
We have to.
That's the major diplomatic city, right?
We do have it. And the chairman is right. Like someone was there. I had a cousin that was working there.
That was recent too, Gregory. That was not more than 4 or 5 years because it was under the last government. Remember?
I think she had left before the government had expired.
That's great. This is not something recent. We have always have it. We have it now.
No, I'm not disputing that. I agree. I know we did. I'm not agreeing with Sam.
We still have the embassy.
We still do.
That's what I'm saying. We don't back then, and it was recent.
No, and that's what I said. We have it in at least 5 major cities.
Gregory, do you think that maybe sometimes the demands of the diaspora are a bit unreasonable, or is it all?
No. The demands of the diaspora express the demands of citizens, and those are the responsibility of the government to support and to facilitate the needs of the citizens. So I don't see any demand that the diaspora make that's unreasonable upon the government.
But it's not a demand; it's a right.
Well,
it's an entitlement.
Yeah.
Once you are a Belizean,
however you want to put it,
you are a Belizean, you have all entitlement under the Constitution. So if you say, "Boy, I cannot vote," because you cannot vote if you are not living and registered. But once you are a Belizean, this is not a privilege being given to you; it's a right you have. You have an entitlement, and we have to understand what are our rights.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, to make how does their city, how government structure its budget and how government sets up where they'll put these permanent diplomatic posts is always up to the government to some degree. I don't know that the citizens in those areas have an influence in it, other than to somehow advocate to the government and say, hey, there are a bunch of us here, a lot of people here, and we would like to have a consulate. A lot of time they do what they call just an honorary consulate that may have clinics and may operate out of their home, as happened in California for a very long time before they actually established the full consulate office. They had honorary consul.
Well, that brings us to a point that I've been harping on for a long time, that maybe instead of us just sending somebody from here, we select somebody from there in those communities who already know the people there and their needs and are in tune to that. And that would lessen the cost also. Those people might be there and, like you said, working in an honorary role and without the need of an elaborate officer.
And that's how California had operated for many years. We had the late Paul Warren, that was the honorary consulate for Belize for a long time before they actually established a full credited consular
and practically donating his services, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Greg, this comes back to a point that I keep hammering. I am saying to you all that as Belizeans, as citizens of this country, we elect people to do a job. We delegate authority to them to do the job. We pay taxes to allow them to pass the appropriation act to carry out these jobs. Now, there are times when, in fact, you will find that a government may use funds not prudently. The citizens will have a right to act. Let me give you an example. There was a time when I was there, I'm giving you the period, that we found that a substantial amount of money was being spent by these embassies in Mexico, in New York, and different places. And much of this money, that was when we came down and decided we will begin to set up a public finance committee from the cabinet and to begin to audit and investigate all these funding. And we found that the amount of money being spent in them had nothing to do with serving the citizens, the Belizeans, doing our work. They were just there for just having fun, socializing.
One fellow in New York racked up thousands of dollars in parking tickets.
That's
and
right.
Somebody told me from experience that he was walking with the fellow, and the fellow said, he said, "Boy, but you're parking now, no parking." I said, "No worry about it, man. No, we have to take care of the ticket."
So what we did, when we found that out, we began to cut back. And we cut out many of those funding because they were not used for the purpose that they were intended. The same thing with the media. Money was being given to the media houses every month, a fixed amount.
Correct.
And we found out, but this should not be so. Why are we giving them money? So if they get angry about it, well, fine, so what? The point is that it was not to be done. So
But you talk about the fourth estate. Well, I mean, if they get angry about it, so what? That kind of like the media. If you cut the media houses subvention, that will happen.
But why are you getting subvention?
Well, that's right from the start. But then again, once you're down, funny thing, you could say, "Why did this on him?" But when you start to do it, then you better keep doing it.
No. I was here to tell me, sir, if we start corruption, we better stick to it.
No. That's a different point. You know, no, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, where is it? Where is it in our appropriation act? Where is it in the Financial Reform Act that the state must give a fixed amount of money every month to a media house?
Where is it in there that they have to pay gang boys now to not give trouble and give them little?
Well, they shouldn't do that either.
Well, see what I'm saying? But once you start it, you better not just stop it. You see the point I'm making?
No, the point you are making is that you are saying that if you are doing something is wrong, you cannot stop it. You must stop it.
I'm saying you get people used to a certain thing, easy to stop it.
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
Stop. That don't mean you don't stop it. No. Let's say we were doing the audit. We are 7 years behind, 7 or more. It was the auditor that brought these out that we never had to do it, we as ministers. But it couldn't be done because the audits were not being done. So I am very strong about these feelings. I don't care who is in government, whether red or blue. The point is that these are taxpayers' money. These are not for politicians. These are for the citizens. So they have an obligation to do the things that the Constitution says that must be done to defend and protect and expand on our rights and our natural rights. That's what I'm talking about. That's the issue of lack of sophisticated voters in the country.
Make we see if we could clear this up, because Sam again put up that if you want a passport in New York City, you have to send to Washington, D.C., because they have no consulate in New York. Instead, there's somebody at the UN, but nobody to serve as a consul. I know Lois was very active in the community up there for sure.
Well, I don't think it's a consulate you have. You have an embassy.
Yeah.
You have an embassy in New York. You have an embassy in New York City. You have embassy in Brussels. We have certain countries that we have embassies. Then we have countries where we have these honorary consuls, like Los Angeles and Miami and so. But some countries we have embassies. We have an embassy in Guatemala. We have in Mexico.
Yeah, well, we know. Yeah, we have embassies, like you say, in Brussels, all over the place, and we wonder what are the purpose of some of them, no? But
I think embassies and those things are important for countries, and I don't think they would put them where it's not necessary.
But not such a high cost, man. Many of them are appointments just that they want to give people rewards for their loyalty.
I don't know if that's the case. I think when we put those embassies, there's significant economic benefit and relationship that exists between those countries.
All
I
right,
don't
I
think
can understand like Taiwan. Taiwan gives Belize a lot of money.
and
So
all we have there is a consulate. That we don't have an embassy in Taiwan.
okay.
I think. Oh no, we do have an embassy because we have Ambassador Pitts there. So we have brought that up to our embassy level. Sorry about that. We do
So
have
when you have
ambassador,
an embassy, you have an ambassador. When you have a consul, you have what?
a consular general.
Okay.
Honorary consulate.
Honorary, so yeah.
But
But
when
again, I do believe that it's time that we look at these places with large Belizean population, people who are there and permanently, especially, and then select from them somebody that will serve their interests. Then we could come to begin the uniting process for the diaspora, where they come together with others in different major cities, in particular in the same country. Like in the US, you have a person in New York, a person in DC, a person in Chicago, a person in Los Angeles, a person in Florida. These are the people, the leaders of these respective communities, and those leaders might need to be chosen by the people in those areas. And they can come together then and present the concerns of the diaspora. Is it far-fetched?
let me come back again.
Well,
We have the embassies in the countries that we will name just now. Now, in other places, particularly a place like it was in Los Angeles and it was in Miami, where we upgraded what was there, not to the embassy, but we upgraded it for the same reason that because the amount of Belizean population that was in those areas, we thought that we need to put more resources there to serve the Belizean people there. And we were doing that. The last person I remember was Rai Young. Rai Young was there for some time, well financed. I've been to the place many times, to the consulate.
Yes.
We were doing a lot of work with Belizeans over there. And so it was in Miami. Miami was the girl main. We upgraded that. We are doing a lot of work in there too. So to me, I'm saying it looked like we have taken a backward step.
I'm wondering if the money is well spent, because a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I would say to run a
how do you know
consulate.
it's not that money, Mr. Chairman? How do you know it's not that money? How much is it?
there's a lot of money.
But how much is it? A lot. How much is
I
it?
can't tell you right off the top, but
Well, then how you say that money? You can't
because
tell them
I've heard that that is substantial amount. Yeah.
that what we need to do, Mr.
I would think to run any of those consulate would cost you at least $500,000. So
Well, it's no sense in trying to guess and figure out if we
no,
don't know.
I'm just thinking from
Do
cost
you know,
of
Joe?
things.
Do you
They have
know?
a staff.
What I think
They
we should do, and this is what I'm coming back to again. There are systems set up which we need to begin to enforce. That's what we need to do. For example, there should be an audit of all these embassies to ensure that the appropriation given for the funding is in fact being used for that purpose.
Well, I would not object to that. I believe that
But
would be a
we
good
used
move.
to do it, and I'm saying that when we made that move, I was a member of the Public Finance Committee. The Prime Minister was heading it at the time. And we began to look at those same figures, although there was no audit being done, but we began to do it ourselves because the audit was way behind. And that's why we had to cut. We cut from the same social media because money was being given to them for no purpose at all.
So,
Of
Greg,
course,
a
it was
half
given
a
to
million.
them for some purpose to keep the government in favorable.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think the purpose. The purpose was to make sure they do not criticize the government.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's why they were giving
and that money was running from party to party for a while. It didn't matter which party was in power. It's
No,
not only.
No, quite frankly, in honesty, it wasn't being done under the UDP. Not directly. It wasn't being done that way. What they are doing, and continue maybe to do what they used to do, when the PUP is in, of course, money goes to the Belize Times, etc. And when the UDP was in, it goes to their paper. That is what it was. But after that, that was that period when we discovered that they were doing it for all the media houses, fixed amount every month. You pay the media houses when you need them to do something for you. That's what they're there for.
Speaking of that, the opposition media house Ghani, no? What was it the last time? The Pulse? Wait a minute.
Newspaper you're
The
talking.
Guardian.
Yeah.
The Guardian.
The Guardian. Are they still publishing that? I've not seen any around.
I quite frankly, I haven't been seeing them at the shelves at the event.
Yeah. I don't know that they're I don't.
How much?
But getting McGregor also to that $500,000 that you're talking about. What do you think monies like that should be spent on?
Well, I don't have a
talking about its
problem. I
worth?
don't have a problem if it's spent correctly.
But
You know,
correctly
in
would be
ter-
like what? Like what would how would you spend that kind of
well,
money correctly
representing the
if the
people.
services are not being provided?
Yeah. Well, I think the services are provided. I think I tell you that the passport issue was a glitch because for a while even people in Belize had problems getting passport. They were only able to process so many, and they had suspended it even to Belizeans in Belize. In the United States, it was even worse because people need to travel, and if you're in Belize, then you probably could have some other options of getting it. But there was a period of time where the equipment was not functioning properly. They had bought one, and then right after they bought it, they realized they needed to change the technology on the equipment because the United States was demanding a more secure document, and then it needed to have some biometric features. And so for that reason, they had to scrap whatever they had just purchased after the equipment they had was failing for so many years, and buying one and then scrapping what they just bought to get appropriate equipment that became the confidence of the United States that people wouldn't be able to recreate or document. And
So these passports were being printed over there in the US then?
No, they weren't They were printed in Belize, but the equipment that manufacturers that secure the technology they needed to produce that secure passport was not in the first iteration of the equipment they purchased.
All right, but that would not
having
be
some
money.
Problems with it
That would have nothing to do with money allocated for the embassies though over there, and we're talking about
it had to do with people not getting their passport.
But what we were talking about was the money, and you're saying you could see about $500,000 that has to be spent on those embassies abroad or those
consulate. Yeah, I've been to the consulate. I used to be good friends with Mr. Roland Yark.
But then yes, but what would the money be used for though?
Well, you have office space. You have a staff. He had a staff of at least 2 permanent people in the office at that time. You have utility bill. I think we were sharing the building with the Taiwanese consulate or embassy that was in California, and they were subsidizing or helping us with some of our rent.
Well, Mr. Greg, you are doing it back way.
What?
What you are doing is back way.
In what way?
Because what you need to do first is to find out what are the duties and responsibility of these diplomatic spaces.
But we know what their responsibility and duties are. We know that.
First define that, which is what was being done. You define their duties and responsibilities.
But that's a charter. That's once we set up.
You have to begin there. You have to begin there.
I'm not disputing that, and I'm not.
It's not about the size of the building and how many people are employed.
We're talking about costs, Mr. Cowie. I was just saying where some of the money is being spent in how I came up with like a $500,000 minimum cost to support one of those.
You'll be giving any figures. We should be more
talking. You know the figures. I don't know it.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I'm just saying.
What I was
giving you 3 things. I was giving you 3 things, Mr. Cowie. Mr. Cowie, I was giving you 3 things. The cost of the rent for a building, including with the utilities, the cost of 2 staff members, and the cost of the consulate general. When I looked at just those items, I said, you're spending $500,000. Just looking at those items, that's what I came up with.
All right. That's the way you do it. Let me introduce another way that I would suggest we look at. I think we need to look at what are the duties and responsibilities at these posts. What is it you think that person in LA, the honorary consul, should be doing? What are the duties?
I think he should be having, and they don't do much of it. I think they should be having outreach and lots of informational seminar with the local people in the community. They didn't do much of that. I think they should be facilitating people with their passport document, helping them in issues. Typically, consulate is a representative for the citizens. If they have some legal issues, they would at least appeal to the government on their behalf. Those are some of the things I think they should be doing. And they also should be representing the interests of the government in whatever public affairs that's happening in the local communities.
The primary purpose of having them in those cases is to in fact look after the interests of the Belizeans over there. That's what they're there for.
Yes, agreed.
Then what they do at times may be beyond that. That's the primary purpose.
Yes,
they're there to look after the interests of Belizeans. Now, when you deal with the embassies obviously have a priority to look after the interests of Belizeans, but they go beyond that.
Yeah, diplomatic.
They will look after the national interests of the country. They look after the issue of trade. They look after support that can come. So they have a broader spectrum of responsibility.
Yes.
But those honorary consulates, wherever they were, still should be, like in Miami and LA, the primary purpose of having them was to look after Belizeans' interests that is in those areas. Otherwise, if you don't send an honorary consulate to a country where there's no Belizeans, you don't. Because there's no Belizeans there, so you don't send them.
I think we had some in some strange places.
No, I will finish right now. No, man, that's very serious. No, you can put up an embassy in a country where there may be no Belizeans, because it serves a different purpose. So all I want to say to you, gentlemen, is sometimes we tend to believe that the people in the diaspora, well, I'm not saying any of you all, but as though the people in the diaspora are different from the Belizean people. Once they are Belizeans, they are Belizeans.
Oh no!
And wherever they are,
well, don't tell G Mike that. Don't
get me started. Don't get me started. But go ahead. Go ahead.
According to our constitution,
preferential citizenship. Preferential citizenship. That's all right.
That's our constitution, my brother. This is not an issue of where I want or you want. This is in the constitution.
I'm glad you're saying that.
Forward your reasons now that we are reforming it. They are part of it. It's a part of. You cannot treat a Belizean because he's not living at home as if though he's not a Belizean. He's a Belizean. Now, the truth about it, there are certain things he will not be required to do if he's not, for example, earning income in the country. He doesn't pay tax here. Now, if he doesn't reside in a division for a certain period, he cannot vote. But those are things that are virtue of his status, but it doesn't change his entitlement to defend.
But do we understand that, all of us?
That's right.
Do we really understand that? Because this is what they're fighting for, though, Joe. They're fighting to have those rights and privileges that you're saying the Constitution does not allow them.
But
the Constitution doesn't deny us as citizens any rights.
But then we are confusing the issue again, man. It's not what they are fighting for. It's what is their entitlement. No, if they want to fight for something that is not their entitlement, that's a different matter. So all I was trying to do was to come down to the issue, coming out of what Lisa was saying that they are doing over there right now. All I wanted to know is why they are there, what they are doing. That's all. Now I find out what they are doing. They are catching up with some backlog, which is good. But once you catch up with it, I am saying to you that under the constitution of this country, Belize has a responsibility to look after its citizens abroad.
Yeah.
That's the constitutional rights they have.
Yeah.
There one touchy thing. I'm not going there because Greg's Ira.
No, show me where the constitution doesn't allow that.
No, it does. Broadly speaking, it does. But there are certain points that we cannot hide from. So, make we know. I don't like said things that widen the rift.
Let me try one that might ruffle the feathers of some of the diaspora. I do find a problem if there is no taxation, there might be no representation. But the truth about it is that when it comes to their rights under the Constitution, once they are Belizean citizens, they cannot be denied that.
They cannot be denied the representation.
Whatever the Constitution, if the Constitution says that you have to be residing in a constituency for a period to be able to vote there. Even though you're a Belizean citizen, if you don't, then you can't. So
Yeah.
you can only do what the Constitution. Put it this way. Let me rephrase it. Your Constitution doesn't give you any rights, you know. It doesn't. Your rights come as natural rights. Some who believe in God, like we do, maybe will say it's our rights, God rights. The Constitution is to defend, protect, and expand on those rights. The Constitution doesn't give us those.
Where
Those
do you
came
get them
as
from?
natural. Ah,
Where do you get them from?
we get them out. You say, Mr. Chairman, when man transitioned from that state of nature where they were,
Right,
had their natural rights,
right,
but they moved from a state of nature into the state of a society.
right.
They did that for the purpose because they felt that collectively they could better defend, protect, and expand their rights. That's how we developed eventually this nation state. Prior to that, the first move from the state of nature was into kings and queens. Then from there, they gone into democracy.
Of
That's
course,
the
you're,
history
you're
of man.
talking about Western society, right? Not,
I am talking about
oh,
any part of the world where people came together collectively to protect and defend their rights, their natural rights. The Constitution is not giving it to you. The Constitution is there to defend it, to protect it, and to expand.
I think we get your point, and we
That's
get your point.
what we talk about. And those things are very important because we want to evaluate the performance of a government and we don't even know what are our rights and what are the responsibility of the politicians. How can we evaluate them?
I'd like to. I think we need for do some research and find out exactly how much money we spend on these embassies abroad. What do we expect back from the money that we put out there? I mean, it's
Just go
worth.
to the
Beg your pardon.
just go to the review. Go right into the review and estimates. It's right there.
And they'll give
It's
it.
published.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's published every year.
All
Once
right.
they pass the appropriation act, when they pass the appropriation act, along with it is the estimates of revenue and expenditure. In there is where they detail the appropriation act.
You
And
know
they
what's
show
funny?
each
Yeah.
ministry, each post. Yeah.
It's funny because I've gotten a reputation, in particular in the eyes of people like Greg, as being anti-diaspora. I am not. I'm not anti-diaspora. I love the diaspora. In fact, I have so many friends over there. I was once a member of the diaspora. I spent more than 20 years in the U.S. I lived the American dream and the American nightmare. I know the American way of living in and out. I'm saying though that there are, and the Constitution does provide for, or it does not provide for the full rights of a person that has renounced those rights. And I think we have to get to the point with that. That it has a sticking point in the discussions that we have. We have to get over that at some point and really argue it out sensibly.
But Mr. Chairman, before I answer that, let me say something. I've never heard you at any time said anything to me that seems that you are against the diaspora. No, I have never heard you say that. What I have heard you say, there are certain things that you believe they should not be entitled to. And I could agree with you on some of those things. So let's come back now to the issue. The issue of dual citizenship was resolved by this country, by the amending of the Constitution in this country. So when we amended the Constitution to allow dual citizenship, when you are Belizean, become an American citizen, that does not in any way mitigate.
You can still travel on your Belizean passport, and many do. Many come in on their Belize passport.
Yeah,
and
but
go out.
You're limiting it to one thing.
I just finished the point I'm making. I am saying that once we amended the Constitution for that very same reason. That before we were not allowing dual citizenship. So when Belizeans were going abroad and by the requirements of their oath was renouncing Belizean citizenship, reality of it, they were no longer had rights under our Constitution. To allow them to restore those rights, we then amend the Constitution to allow for dual citizenship.
But that didn't allow the rights to be restored. That those rights is still in the Constitution.
No, man, but no. Mr. Chairman, we could come back. You are the
Yes.
one that and it just now. I am saying to you that if you had renounced it, it means then you are no longer a Belizean.
The
But
Constitution did not. The Constitution did not say that. But what it did, Mr.
man,
Cowie,
I'm
is
telling you,
the
Mr. Gregory.
Constitution did not. The Constitution did
No,
not
but
say if you
the
renounce your citizenship. Let me finish
Why?
that point,
All right.
because that's
Tell me
important.
why is it we amend the Constitution to allow dual citizenship? Why
Because
do
by
we
default, people were making the claim that you had lost your citizenship, but it did not. You did not lose it. That was just to codify that you did not lose it and to make it clear that you're still entitled to all the rights, because the Constitution did not take away your rights as citizenship
Gregory,
when you
do you
created
know?
when you
Do you
created
know? Do you know that that was the ambiguity? And it was to clear
it
up the
was the
ambiguity.
ambiguity. It
Just
was
like you are
the
saying.
ambiguity, but it did
Because
not.
there was the argument, there was an argument that could be made, and that argument was then muted for the fact of amending the Constitution.
I agree.
The argument could have been made
I agree.
that when
But
you
I'm
become
saying-
when you become a U.S. citizen and you are required to renounce your Belizean citizenship, you are the one choosing not to be. No, we are saying that that argument never did go on before the court to be settled, and rather than
Exactly.
leaving it there, hold on, let me finish. Instead of leaving it in ambiguity, and
If
it was
fair-
done it was done under the UDP government, and they
Yes.
must be given credit for doing it.
Yeah.
They removed
And-
the ambiguity and they said that let us now amend the Constitution, and both parties supported it in the House.
yes.
Two
I'm
sides
not
supported it.
denying that, but I'm saying your statement of assumption is flawed, and it was never proven. It was never taken to the court to contest it, to make sure that, to confirm that you did not lose your citizenship. So to say that you had lost it is where I am objecting. I'm saying you
Well,
did not lose it.
but to say that the Constitution was amended to remove that
To clarify
ambiguity,
that you are still
because
have
gentlemen,
citizenship rights.
Section 58 of the Belize Constitution states that no person shall be qualified, and this are to be elected as a member of the House of Representatives. It does not say anything about allowed to vote. So I don't see where that's in here at all, but it's by virtue of his own act under any acknowledgement of allegiance or obedience or adherence to a foreign power or state. That is in the Constitution of Belize.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So now, as far as the part about voting, I have not I don't have the point that deals with that, and I have to get to that, because where is it? Is it does the Constitution say they're not able to vote as a foreign citizen, or is
No,
it saying
foreign
that
citizens vote in Belize election every time.
so you
If
have
you're
to
a
be
member-
here a certain period of time, correct?
If you're a member of the Commonwealth, you can vote in Belize. If
Right.
you are have Belizean citizenship
Yeah,
from another country, being citizen of another country, you can vote in the election of Belize. And
But
so
Mr.
our
Gregory-
constitution allows non-citizens.
All right. Funny, but I do have it right here.
But yeah, Mr. Morrison, I think you should listen to what the chairman is reading. Would you go back to 58 again, please, Mr. Chairman?
all right.
I heard exactly what he said, and I know what he said, Mr.
could you
Cowie. I have
please-
no disagreement with that.
All right. So you are saying then that if you have denounced your citizenship, you would not be able to run as a representative. Is that what he
Correct.
said?
That's what it's saying
That's what
there.
it says. No,
Now,
no. I have disagreement with that phrasing of how they have eliminated our rights as citizenship in the Constitution. And also, if you remember, the government
Oh, yeah, they
was,
differ with it, but you are not saying that it's not there.
I disagree with it. I know it's there.
Yeah,
I know
okay,
it's
but
there.
good. You disagree, but it is there. All right,
That's
good.
correct. That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct.
So
Could you go through
where
it?
where Joe did they amend it to restore those rights that you're talking about?
It was just the right of dual citizenship.
84, 88 period.
Right.
Where
They allowed for dual citizenship.
That's right.
Dual citizenship.
And the purpose of it clearly was to remove the ambiguities
Yes.
as to whether the Belizean who lives abroad
Had
is
citizenship
a
right.
Belizean but because when they become an American citizen and they renounce, isn't it a fact that they renounce? This is the fact they renounce their nationality, their Belizean nationality. What is it that they renounce?
That wherever, and again is here. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and adjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have hitherto been a subject or citizen.
You see what that says?
That
allegiance. Allegiance is quite different from many other the things we are talking about.
No, you're splitting hairs.
I'm not.
But you say more than allegiance. It is saying other things there, Mr.
Yeah,
no, it said allegiance and defend and so forth, but it doesn't say anything about citizenship.
But to where I have been a subject or citizen. That it speaks right there to that.
Allegiance to that cause, but not to your citizenship.
Well, listen, if you're bonded, you're bonded. We all know that. And I understand that totally. Anywhere that you're born, you belong to and belongs to you. That's how I see that. But there are certain rights that not inalienable rights, because as a right as a person, as a human being, they cannot take away from you. But certain rights, like the right to vote in that area, the right to run for office in that area. Now, the right to vote, of course, you can vote based on whether you have lived in there for a certain period of time, and I can understand that also. But to the fact of and again, I hope we will get past this sticking point and we're able to argue it sensibly and soundly and come to at some point some consensus, no?
Well, the consensus is that we're entitled to have that constitutional paragraph amended so that it allows us our full rights as natural citizenship.
But then what do you do about the oath that you took that renounces those rights? Are you going to adjust that also?
Nothing.
So you're not going to hold...
The United States does not enforce it against people that has dual citizenship. So why would we in Belize?
And tell me why is it so important though? Because do you, Gregory Morrison, you want to run for office in Belize?
No, I don't want to run for office for anything.
How many people in the diaspora do you know want to come home?
But it doesn't mean you don't have the right. I think everyone would want their full citizenship rights.
But that's not a citizenship right.
It's one that's taken away from us, Mr.
Because there are other people who also are not entitled to the right to run, like people who are insane. You see what I'm saying? People, and I had it here just now.
I know convicts and people that have been convicted of certain election crime and stuff. I think they have very few qualifications for not being a member of be able to run and be a member of the House. There's very few qualifications.
Two questions. One, what was the purpose of amending the Constitution to allow for dual citizenship?
I think, like you said, it was to clear up that ambiguity when, in fact, everyone knew we still had citizenship right. Even before that amendment, people were going from the United States and voting in elections in Belize, and you can't vote, and nobody stopped them. You can't vote if you're not a citizen. So it was well recognized, and it was just
the only way they could come and vote was because they had registered before.
Yes. I understand. But I'm saying, they were
because they had lived for the period in the constituency. They were registered, and by going to the states and accepting U.S. citizenship, they still remain on the register of voters.
Yes.
The thing that happened when they have the new registration every 10 years, which it should be, if they do not come back and spend the time here, then they will no longer be on the voters list. So what has happened when we did the first registration, the first new registration in 1997, that was the first it was done.
Mm-hmm.
That was when many Belizeans lost the right to vote because they could no longer be on the list unless they come back to Belize, spend the period and register. That's when many of them lost it because they had it. Now, the dual citizen was that separating. It was to ensure that you would have the right still to come and do it if you so wish. Secondly, they're talking about rights. A person 17 years old cannot vote, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have all the rights under the Constitution.
Well, there we go. There we go. Interesting. Yeah, because you have to be 18 years of age. But you know though, and I see no problem with the requirement of having to reside in Belize for like 6 months or so before you're able to vote.
I think it's 3 months. Don't push it farther. I think it's 3 months.
You want to go even less now?
No, it is 3 months.
All right. I do believe though that there should be requirements, because in particular when you're electing a person that will run the country, if you're going to elect a person that will, if you stir the spoon, you should be here to lick the spoon. If you stir the pot, you should be here to lick the spoon. That basically how the saying goes. So
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with not allowing people in the states or any area where diaspora people live to not be able to vote in an election, because I believe that the election margin is so slim that it could make those changes. But I do believe that they should have the right to participate in the governance of the country if they so choose, to run for office. But it's personal for me. I know a lot of the diaspora wants to vote and have impact and such. And I know you offer an olive branch of having a diaspora representative where you elect or nominate or something like that. I don't know how truly and how valid that will be, but I always say something is better than nothing, right? So maybe there's some merit there until we could get to what we need to do. We
have to compromise at some point.
We see countries like Honduras and we see countries like Guatemala or neighboring countries have grown up to the sophistication where they allow their citizens to vote. In fact, some people from Honduras found it easier to come to our country and participate in the election of their country than it was being in any other place that they were. Why can't we as a nation, as a people, as a government, as a country?
Go back. Say that again. They found it easier to come to where? Belize or America?
Yes. To Belize when they
and
last had the last
participate in
election.
their own
country's election. Yeah.
How did they do that?
They had registration and polling stations for that last presidential
in Belize?
In Belize, yes.
No,
huh?
Never did. We have never had that in Belize.
Have what? The Honduras?
We have never had polling areas set up for foreigners to vote in Belize.
It just happened. You need to go back and look at your history. I just read it recently.
When did it happen?
The last election of the president.
The Belizean?
No, not Belizean. Not Belizean. Yes.
Salvador. Belize, voted in Belize for their president?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, good. Let me clear it up for you. I think I know what you want, what you're saying. If you have a Honduran embassy in Belize and there is election in Honduras, Honduranians that are here registered can go and vote at that embassy. They can.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, they do that. The US citizens do that. Whenever you have elections.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't Belizean? Why can't? What are you disagreeing? I'm telling you exactly what I'm saying.
That I thought you were saying as if though the government of Belize set up.
No. The government of Belize has nothing to do with it.
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
No, of course not. Why would the government of Belize facilitate it? No. All they did was allow the free movement of the people.
Allow in our embassies or our consulate.
No.
There to vote.
You know exactly what I was saying. You were trying to make mischief.
No.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What you were saying, that's as they do it as the embassy here for Honduras allow Honduranians to vote.
No, I didn't say that.
No, I thought I misunderstand you then.
Okay.
No, but really, and the reason, Gregory, is that Guatemala, for instance, is a big country. All those countries are bigger than us. And the percentage of the people abroad is not enough that it would make such a big difference. They'd be exercising that right, but they wouldn't be influencing the outcome of the election. Belize has almost as many people in the diaspora as they have living at home. It'd be something inherently unfair for that to be allowed to happen, and then
I agree with that. I told you from the very start, I agree with that position. I know some people in diaspora don't, but personally, I see the problem you see when the margin is so small, 50 votes, 100
it can
votes.
be swayed
2
by
votes.
yes, by people who will not be here to experience what. Take for instance, like now, if the PUP would get oppressive, it'd be easy for the diaspora to just sit over there and say, well, you know what, I know the Americans know. I don't got to deal with that.
No, I don't think anybody would be. I don't think people vote on that sort of merit. I think people vote for generally who they think will do a good thing or who they support because they like that person. I don't think that anybody would vote because I'm not there, I'm just going to get you a government that's not functional. I don't think anybody.
No, but and that's not what I'm saying, though. If you have a government that's not functional and is swayed by the votes from abroad, it would not be unfair to the people who have to be in Belize and be subjected to the tyranny that they would have to face under such.
President Bush won the election because I think it was Georgia had 250 voters or 15,000 voters that voted for him, versus why he lost that electoral, not electoral, but the
electoral college.
The electoral college. That's what I wanted to say. That's why he lost the electoral college. He lost like 12 votes or something like that. So even in the United States, those margins that we look at, where they allow it to happen, makes a difference when you have people that are not within the country voting, because so many people in the United States votes in these elections that are in overseas serving the country or overseas living,
but not such a significant percentage as would be if we allowed our diaspora to do that.
But we don't know what interest. Look at they having the diaspora conference going on right now, and look how many. It seems like a good many people showed up, but seriously, I was expecting that they would have had
more
lines. How easy Lisa said she was able to get in and out. I would have thought there would have been 200 people in line at any given point.
When you're thinking about the thousands of people that are there, because
I think there's over 50,000 people. Maybe the message didn't get out enough. The fact that it's on a work day and people have busy lives and stuff may have impacted it.
Here's the thing, and this is very important, because at some point we have to bridge the gap. In particular with Belizeans abroad being still so interested in the development of our country. But that one sticking point, I think we have to work that out, argue it reasonably. Not just you anti-diaspora, so I don't want to hear from you, which is that's the kind of attitude I get from Aria Lightfoot. She just didn't even want to talk about it because you're anti-diaspora. And I'm like, give me a little better rationale than that. Give me a reason why you think I'm wrong and you are right. Not that, you are what you are and I am what I am. It is ridiculous, man. So Deidre is saying that the panel discussion is tomorrow. Investment forum is Friday. Gala is Saturday. Gala, the party? That one, party, huh?
Yeah. You know the Belizean, they'll show up for the party.
Oh, they'll show up for that. We love a party, boy. When any pan liquidity.
They'll show up for the party.
What you want to do, right? So, but let's look at the.
They say you capture them where they are, right? Mr. Cohen knows that he's a master politician.
You keep on the truly shit over there, and Joe, but Joe no easy, no. Joe will. I tell you, there are times when we get into some argument and I'm saying Joe stand firm, boy. But make we look a little bit on the American scenario. I've heard hints that Biden might want to replace him heading into And I think that would be the ideal scenario for the
I think
Democrats.
I think President Biden should say, "I will not run." Kamala Harris will not run. Well, she could go in the debate. Um, and Mr. Trump should say, "I will not run," and give this country a
Why
new
wouldn't that be something?
opportunity,
Wouldn't that be something?
for proper leadership. Right now,
We-
we're not getting
The
the
options aren't.
we're not getting the quality of leadership, and it's
Yeah,
surprising a
yeah.
country that has 350 million people, and
There you go.
this is
And
what
bright
we're
people. Bright people. You
yes,
America no shade, you know.
sophisticated voters
Indeed,
and
indeed.
sophisticated people, and yet
But
this is the best we can do.
but then
It's
draw that line and stay on their side of the line, boy, and no matter what is happening in that line, as long as it's on my side, we're good. And it's sad. I think the war, or what they call war, because they're more beat down. But that situation in the Middle East is going to hurt Joe Biden because many
Oh, it
people,
has.
yeah, they're not happy at all with his staunch,
Yeah, he's not
ironclad
going to
support.
he's not going to get the support of young people. He's not going to get the support of the Muslim community as he did last time. So although polls are showing that he has made since the conviction of former President Trump, he has gone up in the polls like 3 or 4%. I don't know what they say from now until November is a lifetime in politics. So I don't know what else is going to happen and things like that. But it has given him a little more breathing room. But man, it's a mess and it's a problem, and we don't see anything coming.
Nothing on the horizon that looks like it's promising, no?
It seems like the same kind of situation we have with in the local. It seems like it's a stalemate and a stagnant thing. Kind of even PUP is in a better position, right, Mr. Joe?
Biden side
I
of
don't think
immigration. Okay.
I think that America is at one of its crossroads, and this time it's because of two candidates. One, some people believe is too old, and then the other, even though he's not much younger,
Correct.
Yeah, couple years.
yeah, but because of the way he was able to pander to the vote of the white people in America, who are in fact the ones that are so bitter against the minorities, that he will maintain their support, no doubt, whatever he does. But
How far have we come with that,
You
Joe?
know, I don't know if it's just white people that Mr. Chloe.
quite a number of black people
no,
support.
I was
Black and Hispanic.
I was about to speak to them next, because if you look at the numbers, if I remember them well, America still has about 70% white, and then after that, then you have the blacks, and then you have the Hispanics, I think, something like that. The point I'm making is that he does have the majority that is backing him. The wide majority are white people. That's a fact. Now, there is truth that he seems to have been making some inroads into the black community. But I think that will backfire. That will not last. I think the move
But
that Trump...
it stood well for the last. He had a very high percentage. Well, not high, not more than president, but a
Relatively
significant
speaking,
amount
yeah.
of black votes, and I think this time he'll only increase it.
That's what I'm saying, that he has increased it by the
Mhm.
polls.
Mhm.
I don't think they will be able to sustain it for the reason. One, I sense now that many people in America who were in fact a bit silent against Trump are beginning to now organizing and coming forward to try to convince the people of America the danger of having a Trump in power.
But when you speak of the danger, Joe, he was in power for 4 years before. What was the danger of that? What happened so drastically that
What happened
destroyed America?
is that Trump has made it known, just as Hitler did with Mein Kampf, exactly what he would do if he gets reelected. And I think...
He's one politician that says what he'll do and he does it.
No, I am saying to you that what Trump is saying that he will do is contrary to the American democracy. And I believe
then he won't be able to do it because they have a constitution also, you know.
No, but if he
The
gets
president have a lot of executive power that gives him a lot of leeway and stuff, But
Ministerial discretion.
Somebody, yeah,
No
All right,
executive
all right,
power.
Joe. So Sam has some stats for you.
the 9%.
Sam is saying that whites is only 59% of the total population. You
Is
said
that,
about 70.
is that
Yeah,
fact?
it's
No,
50.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I was
sure.
going
I'm
to
not
say
sure.
something on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
But
I think. Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Go
think
ahead.
it's 59%. But is he?
it's
I mean, I don't know. I'm not
yes,
But
factually.
you have a lot of different
it's about
groups.
60%. It's about
I
60%
thought it was
is
more
my
than
last reading.
59. I thought, anyhow, they should know it. They live over there too.
Yeah.
So if it's 59%, then the other 41% evidently must be made up of what? Blacks and the mestizos, the next
Well,
two big
well,
numbers.
you have
But
a
But,
lot of
but
immigrants too. You have Arabians. You have
yeah,
lots of other.
do.
do
They
you
do,
know
they
do
do.
you know people like
But what?
Arabians and that you're talking about are counted as white?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they're
Y-
counted. Yeah. So the sometimes the white population of pure white is kind of inflated when you look at the numbers because there are lots of people that are counted as white that was not that are not considered white in some
Or are not
situations.
treated as white anyway. So, but I
Yeah,
wonder
yeah,
what the
yeah.
rationale. Why would they consider them or
I
count them
don't
as
know
white
why they did it in the census and in the
unless they
way the
want to just pad
immigration
the amount
policies.
yeah.
Yeah, in the immigration policies of it. I don't know why it was done. It was explained to me a long time ago, and I don't remember it
Greg, what
exactly.
year?
I wonder if somebody could quickly look it up there. But I don't
What do you
think.
want? What do
Just
you want to
check
look up?
what is the what is the considered to be the percentage of the white population in America.
Well, I don't think we got time for that.
Okay.
We need where. But,
No, I mean,
let me.
just I thought it was more than 59 because
we'll check it. We'll check it, and we'll come back on that next week.
yeah,
Greg,
yeah.
Greg, what year did you go to the U.S.? How long have you been there?
Oh, I've been in the United States for 47 years.
Wow, that's a generation. Tell
Yes.
me, what has been your experience as far as the racial atmosphere? Have you seen an
I'll tell
improvement?
you, I have personally never experienced the true American racism that exists, and it's probably for most of my employment. I've worked in environments. I'm an engineer. I work in environments where it's mostly white people.
And you haven't gotten that kind of racial discrimination pointed at you,
I'm sure there are times when things didn't go the way it should
or they said
because of
something under
race.
their breath that you didn't hear.
Probably I can't I don't give life to that
But
if I
there's
didn't hear
been
it.
no outright, even from the beginning. You're saying,
Even from the beginning.
yeah.
In my whole life, I got stopped by the police like 2 or 3 times, and they have always been experience in
Courteous.
America. They have always been courteous. I've never had any kind of antagonistic issues with them. They've always been polite. I've never,
But what has been your attitude? You've been polite too, haven't you?
I have always been polite, and therefore
you know.
I don't get any reason. But I
Yeah.
think if you're a racist and stuff, like some people say, it comes out immediately. But I've never been pulled over or spoken to in any way that make me feel disrespected.
I
But
think things
I
have.
have lived in an experience that's quite different than because I've always lived in the suburb. Well, not always, but for the most of my time, I lived in Inglewood, and then I lived in the Valley in Reseda, and then I lived in Culver City, then I lived in Rancho Cucamonga. Different places that the mixture and the hostility might not be the same with people. So I haven't had that full experience, and so I can't really speak to that in any ways.
But you've seen the news. You've seen like
I've seen it, and I know it happens, and I know it's real. Yeah.
But I was wondering if you've seen an improvement in it, if you think it's getting better, or is it just being hidden?
I think Black Lives Matter has made a great push in terms of bringing some of the injustices and just the nature of how the world have evolved, or the country has evolved, with cameras everywhere, that everybody could attest to what people have been saying, Black people have been saying for a long time, is true, that the police does approach them more aggressively, is more likely to harass and to shoot and to do all the things they have always claim was happening. So I think that there's no doubt that it is real. The claim that has been made is real.
Here's a gentleman
Don't
say
you?
he's been there 43 years and he's not experienced racism.
Yeah.
That's you. You're
You
a
were
lucky guy.
there, Mr. Greg. I guess in the 70s, mid 70s, thereabout.
Yeah, I came in 77.
All right. So the Vietnam War was already tapering off, and then remember
I think that had
the-
already ended. That
Yeah,
had
yeah.
ended before that.
I was over there. I was over there in the 70s, in the mid 70s, when the Vietnam War was at its peak, and the Black Power Party movement was at its peak,
Yes.
with Huey Newton and with the Black Panther, Malcolm X, and
Okay.
all of them. So I think that that was a period indeed when America was being torn apart.
Yes. Yes.
Very
Well,
much.
I arrived in America in 1968, the last day. In fact, I was flying on New Year's Day into 1969. Martin Luther King has just been killed. I was in Washington, D.C., where racism was rampant.
That's
I
right.
smiled the other day when this girl on Creme said that, oh, it's all right for you. You could pass for white, so you don't experience racism. I was put out of the barber chair when the man said, we not trim your kind in here. I went to school. I wasn't allowed to sit in a certain area of the cafeteria. I had to ride on the back of the bus. So I experienced the kind of racism that they only talk about and never did. I tell you, but by the time I left the U.S., I had seen a vast improvement. But then again, maybe I didn't live in that same area where I lived, but still, even that, I'd gone back to that area sometime, and the difference was there. I think we've made improvement. We've a long ways to go, certainly, and there are many people that have not moved from that spot. But I think overall, things have gotten a bit better, and thank God for that, no?
Yeah, and I think people that when they come from the Caribbean, because we don't have that suppression and that racism on us, we come and we have a different attitude when we encounter white people or any other people, and so it is probably by our nature we're a little bit more softer and agreeable and
tolerant,
less
a little more
confrontational.
tolerant, yeah.
Yeah, less confrontational, and therefore it doesn't stop the anger and the aggression that that others face. Because I know for a fact the white people and the Jewish people, they love employing Caribbean people, not only from Belize, but Caribbean people to work with them in their homes, in their factories, in their business, because I think they see a different work ethics and probably a little more softer, and we don't have that sense.
I don't hate you as much.
Yes, it is. I don't know if it's but something different than, and I always have this conversation with my American brothers and sisters, and it does make a difference because we do have a different attitude than them. But on the other hand, I could understand their position in many ways. And so I sympathize with where their plight in many ways when they are pushed to a different level. And it as I said, a part of it is the character of how we grew up that gives us a go get it, not an entitlement. While these people here, the minority, the black people, they do have, to me, some rights that is denied to them. But since we come from afar and such, we don't feel that pressure to impose that request.
Interesting.
I fully agree with you, Mr. Morrison. I experienced it in San Francisco. And what sometimes maybe we would see as racism is not racism, it's just that intolerance for certain behavior that blacks would have been doing. It's not that they were against them in some cases, So I find that with the people from the Caribbean, as you rightly said, they seem to be coming over as more affable and more disciplined and more hardworking.
But you almost sounds like you're blaming the blacks for the situation they're faced with.
No.
No. That's why I said I have sympathy for it, because it is because we didn't face it, and because we probably come from a harder economic situation where we have to work, it gives us a sense that Okay.
we're more grateful for what we're getting,
Yes,
so we're
yes,
not gonna be,
yes,
we're not as demanding as the blacks.
yes,
But
We
it's
know
there.
that they deserve more.
I
yes,
think
yes.
an attitude that I saw again, that if you're white, certain black people will just hate you because you're white. And then, of course, the white people hate you because you're black. But if you look, and the period coming after into the Martin Luther King and thereafter, there were a lot of white people marching with blacks and,
Oh,
you know,
of course, of
in
course,
civil
of
rights
course.
movement. Many white people were holding hands and
Even during
supporting.
slavery, there were abolitionists that were all white and
That's
stuff.
Well,
right.
listen, there are John Brown was a white man. There are Jews today that are marching against the genocide in Palestine. So
That's right.
yeah, there are always, fortunately, good people on all sides, as Trump has said. No, I don't know why you hear that, but folks, let's meet again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. It's been a pleasure.
Is it that time already?
It's that time already. It
Yes,
just
well,
breezed by today, right?
I went
Yes.
beyond the basic point because I texted that I would have been there, but
With
good
that,
show.
Joe?
Good
You had
show.
another point?
No, that's it.
All right. Guys, thanks a lot. See why we're out of here? Free Palestine. Respect.
Good night.
We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it ball like a wig. Gonna jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear. We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it ball like a wig. Gonna jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear. Music doesn't know it's gone. And a toy, some boy, me telling us, you know, must realize whole road done change. Watch me like the words out of my mouth is changed. Some of your lyrics that I forget, rearrange. You don't need money, get that. Hotter than pepper when you sing. Why you have to this song so bitter? You get opportunity with that responsibility to achieve reality. We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it ball like a wig. Jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear. We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it burn like a way. Gonna jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear. Violence prevention, that with the mention. Why you have to spit with so much bad intention? So I'm gonna say it, so shall it be. What's the seed far close to the G? You know, say retire that the negativity, plus you stay the complete. Even though you have dollars, they fall like rain. Still want drive in another man lane. No shit. We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it ball like a wig. Gonna jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear. We don't need no gimme for to make the lyrics pop. We don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it burn like a way. Gonna jump up in the air, song by beware. We fling bout the lyrics like fear.
Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire.
Cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco. Cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco. Cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco. Cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco, seis, cinco.
Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rocking Kingdom attire.
Most jelly, jam no shake like that. And most lava because fire no hot like that. Body organic, that gym squat that. 0% fat, woman. Straight savage, thicker than a snicker from out of my fridge. The way she have the thing to swing like big bridge. Me have to tiptoe fi gain leverage.
Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rockin' Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rockin' Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rockin' Kingdom attire. Cinco side, them gal fire. Pull up on the block, rockin' Kingdom attire.
Cinco side, cinco side, cinco side, cinco. 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 5 and then 6. Girl, flex, time fi have. Make we just chill on Netflix. Now make the outside nice, create no conflict. Hating pan we loving relationship. We have to stay wide from the toxic trip. Plus style grip, have me the pop off like a rocket. You and me wifey and me side chick. Read the pamphlet. Read the pamphlet.
Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my kings, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from a Pharaoh, I do this for my queens, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my kings, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my queens, rocking Kingdom apparel.
Don't need to recount the votes. I'm here to destroy all your hopes, dreams, aspirations. It's like poetry with musical inclinations. I see you peripherally, breathe easily, step lightly like on eggshells, or see real shells. I ring bells, bling bling is green. Don't necessarily need to be seen, but I do need to be heard. In my brain I've accumulated mucho verbs. I'm taking herds to the third curve. Tentacles reaching up into the suburbs. 10 o'clock, do you know where your child is at? Inside of a room, all black, grown men beats. That's where we at. As I stack chips, pockets ain't made of glass, so you can't see me dip.
Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my kings, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from a Pharaoh, I do this for my queens, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my kings, rocking Kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh, I do this for my queens, rocking Kingdom apparel. Came from the water, evaporated moisture. Wavy wave in here, I do it for the culture. Cypher, music, I do this. 2023, still moving with a movement. BK where I came from, but the BX raised me in 2015. I became wavy, named by SP. The streets never changed me. I just work smarter, I just work harder. Wanna be Nino, so I need a Carter. So I moved to Harlem, that's where it all started. Discovered my flow, and I became a problem. Can't solve them, why would you want to? I do what I want to, you do what you can do. When it come to bars, I'm lit like a candle.